23 hours. Perfect. What's up, Duckers?
It feels like going back to the gym almost.
Yeah.
You know, like when you've been out of shape for a while. And you're
exercising that muscle, that social muscle, trying to be like how to talk to a camera again.
Well, like this is what it feels like to have something to do on, you know, the middle of a Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We've this is the second week back, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
A little consistency in her pill. Whoop, whoop.
And we got a lot to talk about today.
We do have a pretty good amount of things to talk about. I hope all of you guys and dear viewers, you guys have been well at home, having a good weekend, maybe going out partying, doing whatever, not getting in trouble.
Yep. Well, I can't promise you that part.
Yeah, no. But yeah, dude, I am so drained right now.
Yeah, I know. Same.
This has been a fast-paced weekend.
I'm still recovering from like blowing out my tire on the freeway.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
That was actually wild. Like 1 second, my low pressure alarm's going off, and then the next second, I'm like on the freeway and like my car is shaking like violently. I'm like thinking to myself, like I will never financially recover from this.
And you're like, this don't sound like this. This don't feel like a feature.
Yeah, there's like a nasty bump. For those of you that like live in Washington, right? There's like this nasty bump and people know about this. It's like marrying Marysville into Tequila, and there's this nasty little ridge bump on the freeway. And I like that one capped me. That one capped me pretty good. That one set me back 1,300.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good Lord.
We have. We'll get right into the main subject. We have a couple of things that we are going to talk about today. We're starting off with a list of micro subjects, and then we're going to get into our main subject, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, at least the Disney Abomination version of it. And if you want to see going right into the, if you want to go right into the Snow White content, here's the timestamp to skip right over the micro subject and get right into the meat of this video.
Yeah. So the story goes is we're sitting on our this was Saturday, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting on Discord and we're talking and stuff like that, and we're like, I think we want to talk about this movie this weekend. And it's currently at this point, it's 9 p.m. on yesterday night, Saturday, and we're going back and forth. We were like, yeah, probably see the movie right now.
So if we're going to talk about it on the podcast, it's like we can't be cheap. We actually should just
we should see it. And so,
Friday night. Sorry, not Saturday night. Friday.
Was it Friday night? No,
Friday. Yeah, because I worked yesterday.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
No, okay, I got it wrong. Retcon. Yeah. So we went and saw it at like 10:15 Friday night.
Alderwood Theater.
Yeah, it was an experience. It was fun. It was fun to get back out in the movies, man. It was nice to be able to like go somewhere and watch something
and like
get out of the house.
enjoy a movie with other people. Even though we were probably the loudest in the room.
I think there were like 6 people in the theater, and they all heard you.
I think it was less than that.
Yeah, because
it was
2 people left.
Yeah, there was 2 people that outright left in the middle of the movie. But we'll get back to that in just a minute.
Anyway.
So the Snow White movie is mainly what we're going to be talking about today. We are just going to get through a list of micro subjects that we thought were kind of interesting that we found out this week.
Yeah, just a couple of stones in the pond, I guess you would say. Some really weird stuff. Once again, never getting any real satisfaction, and this will lead into another subject that we're going to talk about, but never really getting any real satisfaction with seeing comic book portrayals of superheroes down to a T. At least visually, it seems like we're always getting like the outgrowth of the early 2000s of a lot of these studios like TriStar and Columbia and Sony and 20th Century Fox basically being like, we have to ground these characters in reality. And my biggest pet peeve is they're not in reality.
No.
They're a fictional story.
And then we have this really weird offset of this, what was it, Allstate?
Yeah, so this leads into the point is, of all things, I know you'd probably never catch us talking about anything close to this, but we're going to talk about it. Allstate put out a recent commercial. Now, granted, it stars Jason Bateman, who is a phenomenal actor in his own right. But it's for, they're always promoting new policies and stuff like that, which is, that it's insurance is boring.
It was weird when you sent that advertisement to me on TikTok.
You were like, why are you sending me an insurance ad? And I was like, but listen.
I did not want to watch any more ads. And I was just like, I'm sitting through. It's like, okay, that's a pretty decent looking Batman. What's up with this Joker, bro?
Yeah. So the thing is everybody is freaking out, especially on the TikTok sphere, because for whatever reason, this State Farm commercial specifically, I don't know what their PR team is doing, but they, at least in my opinion, have managed to capture one of the most one-of-one portrayals realistically of the Joker, like visually, right? Because he didn't say anything, but visually, probably one of the most accurate like portrayals of what the Joker is supposed to look like from the comics to the big screen. And it's in a insurance ad.
It's very gosh, it almost looked like it's like a real life rendition of the Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah, like a little bit, right? Like
just
a little bit of blend
bit.
of that with, I mean, you know, my favorite. I hope we see this in our lifetime before, you know, it gets too late. But Willem Dafoe as the Joker would be, dude, I don't care how bad that movie would ever be. If Willem Dafoe is in it, I'm going and seeing it.
If Willem Dafoe was the Joker, he's got the chin. He's got the chin that kind of matches that Arkham series Batman.
Well, it's like
quite a bit.
It's the perfect blend of visual with good acting style. Like the only reason that Spider-Man No Way Home really did work cohesively, apart from kind of like fractured, splintered storytelling here and there, the more you watch it over again, was Willem Dafoe's performance again as the Green Goblin.
Right.
I mean, the writing is standard, at least from what I watched and stuff like that. And when I watched and rewatched the movie, the writing is nothing like, you know, incredible, but it's Willem Dafoe's performance that like sends this entire movie up another level.
I think he'd make a incredible Joker.
Oh,
it's
dude.
such an incredible Joker if that was the case.
Especially
He's got the crazy eye for it.
Exactly. And the thing is have you seen Batman Under the Red Hood, the DC animated movie?
Oh, I think. Dude, it's been such a.
Yeah.
You know what? I would probably need a refresher.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, I'll definitely send it to you later. But the portrayal of the Joker in there is voiced by John DiMaggio, who is the actor in Adventure Time that plays Jake.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
That's actually insane.
He plays some of like the best, like gut wrenching, like skin crawling version of the Joker in this animated movie, and I feel like Willem Dafoe would embody that, and I really wish he would. But anyway, we're tailing off a little bit. We can throw the clip up at some point.
We can throw it up just right here.
Yeah.
I'll probably show it while we're talking about it. But
Yeah,
like
exactly.
here's Willem. Sorry, not Willem Dafoe. Here's the Allstate version of the Joker, which really blew my mind,
Dude, because
on
it's
First
so
Contact.
crazy.
It's
Like,
so good looking.
like, dude, I was sitting here like, hold on, let me just, because I gotta look.
Even if you read all the comments on TikTok or even on YouTube, it's like everybody is wondering, is like, why can't the Joker look like this?
Yeah,
or why
everybody's
do
like,
these
what
look
is-
better than anything that DC's actually put out?
Exactly. Like, I don't understand how we can get something this accurate. Hold on.
Yeah, there it is.
That is insane, dude.
That's
That
an
is
Allstate
crazy.
ad.
That's an Allstate.
That
ad.
looks better than the what was it? The Joker from the Suicide Squad.
Oh, well,
By a long shot. I mean, any Joker is probably.
yeah, to be honest, Jared Level, I'm sorry, dude. You're a good actor sometimes, but good lord,
I don't
you
think- I don't-
oversend sometimes.
I don't think that was the right role for Jared.
It just feels.
Personally.
Not only that, it feels like that Joker portrayal is just way too detached anyway.
And it's kind of like a weird thing because, like, I feel other people, kind of like the fan base, kind of like what we were talking about in a couple weeks ago with the Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
films, it seems like people outside of DC have a better idea as to what the nature of these characters are versus DC themselves. That's up until we start talking about that new James Gunn Superman movie.
Yeah, which it'll also tie into kind of like, I think a lot of this, same with Disney, same with a lot of the stuff. It's people at the top, you know, that art is not their forte.
No.
Their forte is making money, and they therefore, like, I understand wanting to be a business, but at the end of the day, I mean, if you want to secure any form of long form profit, you kind of have to make your movies memorable. You know, maybe a little bit more than just surface level, like, oh, big blockbuster, all the 8-year-olds will show up. There's so much.
It's based on an old title, then you know who these characters are and you love them. You love them.
Exactly.
We made a movie
Why do
about
we
it.
have to explain them? Why do we have to put any effort in? No, so I'm leading into that. So you guys will see it. I just one last thing. That looks scary. That looks scary.
That looks absolutely terrifying. That looks like the freaking Joker.
Yeah, dude. This is like, I don't know. Anyway,
The teeth aren't overly rotted. It's like the
it's like
smile looks accurate. The eyebrows are just on point.
when the scowl that he has is just like menacing, dude. And the smile, like what you said, the smile looks crazy.
Psychotic murderer.
So to end with that, State Farm, I don't know what you're doing.
Good job.
Rare State Farm W, I guess. Okay, you know what? Anyway,
They've always been on top of their advertisement game. They had the original Jake from State Farm.
oh,
That ad was classic.
what are you wearing?
Khakis. Dude, like, come on, that one was a cultural phenomenon. And then like New Jake doesn't quite embody that.
Well, it's like, I think,
But like,
there was a time, I don't know what, oddly specific. There was a time, at least like I would say from like maybe 2010 to 2012, where insurance companies, I don't know what they did, but they let their creative team just go wild. There's like some of the funniest skits from Progressive to State Farm to Geico, especially, dude, the old Geico commercials are hilarious.
Yep.
And very good original ideas. I don't know what they're doing now, but rare W. Move on from the rare State Farm W. Let's talk. I know this is a little bit, it's, we're not like right on the subject yet. We're still doing a little bit of catch up, but the new James Gunn directed Superman.
This kind of looks interesting. It's like I don't want to say it like this, but I'm going to say it because I have no other way to describe it. It's like the corny version of Superman, but we're kind of going back to the classics.
Well, the thing is like, I think this is the biggest misconception that I see with a lot of people that don't understand Superman, because they look at Superman and they're like, well, he's OP. He's so like over the top. He's got all these powers. Like, you can't write an interesting character. He doesn't have any flaws. And it's like, no, that just means that you need to get better at your storytelling.
Yep.
Because I'm sorry, if any of you know what I'm talking about, the All-Star Superman run in the mid-2000s done by Grant Morrison is one of the best portrayals and interpretations of Superman to date. It captures, at least in my opinion, the best thematic storytelling and the best understanding of Superman as a base character from both the angle of Clark Kent and Superman. And the same thing with Lex Luthor. That entire story is like, at least in my opinion, if you want to know who Superman is, it's like that comic and then Superman versus the Elite. Those two stories are like all you would need to understand why the big blue Boy Scout is the way he is and why a lot of people get it wrong. Because at the end of the day, everybody has an interesting quality or something about them. You can say that about Batman, about like, well, he has more to work with. It's like, yeah, because he's more down to earth to your traditional form of a flawed character.
Yeah, he's more that's what makes Superman difficult. That's why you have to be a good writer to write Superman.
Exactly.
That kind of goes to show the point. Batman, yeah, he's got more content. He's got more material to work with, and it's an easier format. Yeah, sure. A disturbed guy that decides to kind of take up a Caped Crusader and he just goes out in the night. Superman is an invincible
title card.
Yeah, I'm playing that. I'm playing that in it. Superman is, but that's okay.
It's one of my favorite TikTok trends too. But yeah, it's really
Superman plays the indestructible character. So how do you write a story for somebody that's indestructible? You get the people he cares about, or maybe you get the planet he cares about, or you turn him into like he's turned into a symbol. How do you write a symbol? Well, and Kateri wrote a video that actually call out Kateri. Congratulations on your new video pertaining to Captain America and how to write a symbol. That was actually a really solid video. You should actually watch it.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Supporting the homies on this one. But it's like Superman kind of embodies that same ideology. He is more of a symbol that you have to write out for than if it was a traditional run-of-the-mill character that most people can relate to.
Well, that's the thing is because, I feel like the ultimate interpretation and the ultimate superhero that you can connect with the most is Spider-Man. Yep. Spider-Man has all of the flaws that we all deal with on a normal day basis on top of the fact that he is a small fish in a really big pond. And it works because once you like get that coming of age story concept down, it really grips you in. The PS4 Spider-Man, Insomniacs and Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4, at least in my opinion, one of the best recent storylines for Spider-Man for a video game. And video games, like, I don't know, they if we had more movies and more accurate representation, I feel like a lot of video game titles would be able to get big studios a run for money. But anyway,
yeah, I know, and there's a lot to be said there.
There is a lot.
It kind of seems like DC was falling off these last oh gosh, how many years? With a couple of W's, like the Batman and
yeah, like, and that's the thing. It's like, unfortunately, you can get really, really good at one thing because like Dark Knight, one of the best superhero movies of all time. The Batman, thematically, to a certain point, character wise. Like
shot for shot, the style, the detective style,
accurate.
Yeah.
Accurate look of a Batman film I've ever seen. I love the way that movie looks. If that story was horrible, I'd still watch it.
The style is different.
Oh, dude,
it hits different, especially for a superhero movie.
Oh, dude, because it's got that whole Batman Year One vibe. It's so amazing. But
it seems like DC's starting to play catch up with Marvel a little bit. And, Marvel's kind of slowed down quite a ways. And actually, next week's video, we actually have to talk about some of the new Marvel movies that are coming out.
Yeah.
Kateri also, by the by, Kateri was also wanting to come on for that particular subject.
Oh, that'd be dope. Yeah.
So, just heads up.
Yeah, no, that'd be dope to have him on.
Let's talk about DC trying to catch up to Marvel a little bit.
Well,
because I feel like Marvel had a lot of time to build out their hero roster with individual movies and then bring on the Avengers, which was just like the coming of together. I don't think DC had that opportunity. They just kind of rushed into, what's the name of the superhero group for them?
Oh, the Justice
League.
I think, because here's the thing, and we talked about this the last time, Marvel and DC, Marvel just was the one that did it first, that understood it a little bit better. Yep. Like, Jon Favreau is the reason why we have the MCU in the first place. If Iron Man never happened, we probably wouldn't have the same, like intergalactic level run of movies. Like, this has never been done before.
That's
on
true.
This scale. I think the problem with DC is, one, I think Marvel knows who they are, or at least they did. When Kevin Feige was less Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau was Jon Favreau, I think they understood what they were and how they were and who they are as a company faster than DC did at the blockbuster level. And they were able to do that. And so now DC is playing catch up because, through their slew of CEOs and stuff like that, and their slew of just creative, like axing things and bringing things up and then axing them again, there's no cohesive unit. That's the thing that Marvel has had for the last 10 years is cohesion. They've been able to put these movies out because they all understand the vision. I don't know what DC is doing, but they're just not able to kind of like get out of their own way and start doing things for the sake of the story and getting out of their own heads.
Yeah. And then that's where I think I'm actually, I'm going to say it. I think I have a little bit of hope for James Gunn.
And the only reason is because of James Gunn for me, because I don't know who else could really do it. And you can't.
Is DC going through an entire reboot right now? Is that what's happening?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of checked out at this point. I really it was cool for a while when the stories were good and entertaining and we had new material. And then after Endgame happened, it was like you had a couple of good movies here and there, and then the rest just kind of fell by the wayside for me. Yeah. Like, even with the TV shows to a certain extent, like, I don't know. It's just, you get like that superhero fatigue. That's why, like, this one, I've really been passionate, especially in the last, like, couple years of, like, wanting a good portrayal of a superhero. And DC holds a near and dear place to my heart. And the only reason that I have faith is because James Gunn is at the helm of it.
Yeah, and I kind of like the art style he's going for. It's not the ultra serious superhero movies that we've been getting.
Yeah, it's not Zack Snyder, the fade to gray, different areas of gray.
The picture quality, the style, for some reason, reminds me of X-Men a little bit. I don't know why.
There's a little bit more color.
There's a little bit more color
in it.
Yeah, way more color involved in this one than like the dark, muted color
undertones. The very, very dark undertones. That, like, listen, Zack Snyder, if I can give him credit for anything, understands the physics of what a superhero is capable of doing better than anybody else. Watchmen, Man of Steel are the only things that you really need to watch to understand, like, this is the best interpretation of what superheroes would look, feel, and be like
if they were real.
Yeah. Like, the entire Superman punching people through the air, that started with Snyder.
Captures the live action essence just right, where it doesn't capture reality 100%, but it's just like, suspend your disbelief. It's enough to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, these people are gods.
Yeah.
They can punch buildings in half. Show that on screen instead of shying away from it because you don't know how to portray it. Figure it out. And I'll give Zack Snyder credit. He is good at that. The thing is,
just give him the budget to do that, though. VFX is expensive, Well,
and the thing is that's the other thing. That's a whole other animal. The thing is with James Gunn, this is why I love it, because we had the original Suicide Squad that came out in 2016. Can't remember who it was directed by.
I mean, you go out to any bar, any Halloween party, and everybody's dressed up like Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
That
I mean,
movie?
the Harley Quinn craze is been around for a while, but yeah, definitely definitely.
Oh, it skyrocketed. I just thought that was the funniest thing about it.
But I think the thing is like a testament to James Gunn being able to like, because when did the Suicide Squad come out?
Oh, that was a while ago. I want to say.
2021.
Oh,
So-
really? It was that recent? I thought it was a little earlier than that. I thought it was like 18.
I thought it was too, but it's like, okay, so normally when you do reboots of movies, at least from what I've seen, there's like a 10-year gap. And with James Gunn, not only was he able to make a better cohesive storyline, a better understanding of the characters, and include some of the weirdest offhand shit. Starro, the giant star alien that is able to control people.
Yeah, that was a weird villain.
But like the thing is it worked.
Did it? I haven't seen that movie. I'm sorry. I know. I'm going to zoom in.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. No, I'll catch him up. You guys
I know.
do whatever you do in the comments. But the thing is like, how are you able to include such a obscure, nearly B-tier character in some opinions and make him the final act of the movie?
Yeah.
While keeping all of these other characters cohesive and understanding their arcs and understanding like their flaws and stuff like that. And like, dude, Deadshot isn't even in the movie. Deadshot's in the original. And then he was replaced with, I can't remember his name, but it's played by Idris Elba. You know who I'm talking about. Like, how do you change things that fast and then make it work? And I think the thing that we can
I think original Deadshot was played by Will Smith, right?
Yeah.
I'm guessing he's becoming especially in recent years, he's becoming a little bit more of a controversial and more difficult actor to work with.
Well,
but
it's
who
like,
knows?
it's not even that. It's the fact that they completely made a different character. Now you could argue that like, okay, well, Will Smith might not have returned the role. I can't remember. So we have to go with a different character.
Yeah.
But the fact that you went with a different character and then on top of that made it better than the original portrayal in 2016 is a testament to somebody that understands at least comic book characters. I feel like James Gunn has a really good understanding of the dynamics and the atmosphere and the ideas of comic book characters better than a lot of other directors.
Because he probably respects the source material, Disney. Talking to you.
Good.
No,
Exactly, dude.
I'll wait till we get to the meat of this video in Snow White. I have some things to say.
But yeah, what I will say to like wrap it up, Superman, I'm excited for it. I'm not gonna, go, because I've been let down enough to the point where it's like, I'm just gonna go in skeptical, and if it turns out good, awesome. Also, Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner, even though he looks kind of weird, I'm really happy about, because Nathan Fillion, at least in my opinion, for the animated movies, plays the best portrayal of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern.
Oh, that's kind of wild.
Dude, it's so cool, because anybody that knows the gaming community, especially if you know Uncharted or Destiny, you know who Nathan Fillion is.
Yep.
And he's a good actor. So anyway, we'll talk more about that probably next week. The next thing that I want to get to is
This is more the subject you brought up that I put here in my notes, and I just read up a little bit on this. You want to actually cover this one?
Yeah, so I'll take this really quick. This will be a really quick snippet. Okay, so like fair spoiler alert, no matter who you are as far as like your political leaning, like trigger warning, I'm sorry if you feel this way. We're not going to go into politics on this one too heavy, but what I will say is that I feel like everybody should at least understand that this is kind of a cool moment in and of itself. I don't know. I would love to be gifted this.
I still have not seen this thing, so this is going to be a real reaction.
Check
here.
this out. So this was recent. I can't remember what day it was, but Japanese Prime Minister gifts President Donald Trump with a golden samurai helmet on his recent visit to the White House.
That's crazy.
So, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba presented President Donald Trump with a golden samurai helmet during their first in-person meeting at the White House on Friday. The ornate gift known as the Eternal Helmet. I'm sorry, bro. I don't care where you line up on the political spectrum.
Tell me that's not the coolest name for that.
If Barack Obama was gifted the Eternal Helmet, I don't like Barack Obama personally for his policies. If he was gifted the Eternal Helmet, I'd be like,
That's kind of sick, bro.
be like, respect, dog. Like that's cool. What do you think? That's cool. What? Like, dude,
How many other like screw the political world. Like how many other people just get gifts like that?
Like, dude,
And it's solid. It's solid gold. It's not plated. It's solid.
I don't know if it's solid gold, but like, I ain't gonna lie. Just looking at it visually is crazy. Look at this.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Dude.
I was imagining like original, more ornate. I didn't think that they were going for like the fancier. What is
Dude.
that? Like the flares on the side and the beautiful white ivory look.
Dude,
that fabric is that I
don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is, but it's so cool looking.
Look at the detail in the flower on the top. Sorry, I'm a 3D artist, so this is like kind of like
bag.
This is like kind of where I like to shine a little bit, or not shine, but whatever. I'm gonna nerd out for a second. I don't know what that black finish is on the top. That's kind of sick. When you said gold, I thought it was going to be the whole thing was going to be gold. I didn't think it was going to be this ornate.
Dude, it is crazy looking. It's crazy looking, dude.
I want a 3D model of that thing. Is that an NFT I can purchase?
It looks like it was straight out of Ghost of Tsushima.
It literally
Ronin.
It looks like a skin that you can get from the game. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like this, I remember the 47 Ronin. I know that I believe it's based off a comic book, but just like coming into it as an outsider and watching that movie, obviously a samurai movie, but like the samurai outfits that they have are like over the top and they look so cool. And, this reminds me of that, and it's so cool, dude.
And the samurai are a big deal to the Japanese culture.
Oh yeah.
You can't just say this isn't cool because of the politics. Like this is a little piece of history right here.
Well, and the thing is like, I'm not going to claim to know Japanese history or try and like spout a bunch of stuff. But what I will say is like the conversation surrounding this is the fact that like, listen, nobody just gets gifted a golden samurai helmet called the Eternal Helmet.
No,
there is something. There's something that, now listen, you want to talk about, well, this is capitalist greed. Of course they're going to listen. I'm sorry. There's a different culture. At least I feel like there's a different cultural disconnect. From what we know about Japan's culture, there is a disconnect in terms of there is still like, there could be that aspect, but there is also the aspect of staunch traditionalism.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, I feel like just off rip, gifting somebody a samurai helmet dubbed the Eternal Helmet is like, that's a pretty big honor. You know what I'm saying?
The Japanese were like some of the world's best poets way back in the heyday. I think they're actually still some of the best writers, best artists too.
Oh yeah, dude.
Majority of the Japanese art from the colonial times, where they had that 2D look. They actually haven't really done the 3D yet.
Yeah.
Where they had like visual perspective.
Yeah. I feel like I just wanted to include it for like a little 10-minute snapper or something like that, because I feel like it's kind of a cool thing. Like I said, if Barack Obama was gifted that, I'd be like, what?
It's kind of wild.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's cool, dude.
It's an interesting piece of history. And talking about history, that kind of leads us into our last little mini discussion.
Yeah.
This one for me is the big one. This is actually kind of sick.
Yeah, this is definitely, at least from what I'm seeing, like, okay, there's still a whole bunch of controversy surrounding it, but just to get to what we're talking about, you all know that it's been happening. If you're in any of the archaeological spaces, the new discovery or supposed discovery of a giant underground city beneath the pyramids in Egypt.
Yeah, the large pillars that go from the bottom base of the pyramid all the way down to the bedrock.
Yeah.
How deep?
Here's the thing. We have only our understanding right now, and modern understanding, we've been around for thousands of years. Like this is crazy. And I can't remember where it comes from, but the history of the Roman Empire is closer to us than the history of the Roman Empire is closer to the Egyptian Empire.
That's right. And
they look at them as fossils.
Cleopatra was closer to us than she was to the Egyptians that built the pyramids. Yeah, I have that right.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Which is like, it really puts into perspective, like, holy crap, we've been here for a minute.
So this kind of leads to a lot of questions if the claim is true. They were using a new wave or some sort of detection technology that was able to deeply penetrate into the Earth's crust to find these things.
Yeah.
And you'll find in these kind of like, they had these 3D models of these cylinders with spirals that kind of loop all the way down to the ground.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if that is more the case and it really truly goes that deep, I'm really starting to question Egypt's actual history as to what we've been told in schools.
Well, and this is why
I think Graham Hancock has a more accurate idea of what's been going on than current Egyptologists.
Well, I think the thing is because I can't remember what archaeologist was on Joe Rogan's podcast. It was him, Graham Hancock, and Joe Rogan. I can't remember the name. If somebody remembers in the comments, he looks like Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
he seems like a pretty cool person. But he had a lot of questions about Graham Hancock's theories. And while I won't outwardly be like these are all false, I think that there is a little bit of idealism in Graham Hancock. Not to say that that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And if he ends up being right, I mean, hey, have your cake and eat it too. Cool. But what I will say is that the controversy surrounding this whole thing, Graham Hancock or not, leads me to believe that like there is a little bit more credibility to this than people are trying to give credit for right now. Like instead of like there's more people on the side of this could be real than there is not. At least from what I've seen in the archaeological community. And yes, they did use the new technology is called synthetic aperture radar.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how does it work?
That I'm gonna have to research.
It does.
But
let's sit down for an hour and actually just discuss how this piece of tech works. Yeah.
But the thing is so they were able to reach so far into the ground. This entire structure and the pillars combined span a height of 2,100 feet deep. To give like a little bit of perspective, let me see where I have it right here.
Really calls into the question what the purpose of the pyramid really was. If the pillars are true, if these cylinders are truly underneath the ground, on like going all the way down to the bedrock, going that deep, I call into question whether or not this was just for being a tomb.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I'm really starting to doubt that.
Yeah, I feel like, and again, I feel like as we progress through life as a species, we just keep unearthing new things. This is why I love the concept of discovery because, like, I don't know, this stuff just fascinates the hell out of me. So to give some perspective, 2,100 feet. The Empire State Building is 1,454 feet.
Wow.
So you can fit the entire Empire State Building in there. The Eiffel Tower is 1,083 feet. You could fit nearly two of them in there, which is like,
and that's solid stone.
I don't know
like,
if it's solid stone.
Like even if it's stacked brick, okay, it's not going to be solid. But even if it's stacked brick, why?
That is that's the big question because like I don't know. The fact that the pyramids were built by anybody at any time at all is a testament, at least if it's by humans, is a testament to not only the fact that we are a lot smarter than we think that we weren't back then, but the fact that the testament to human ingenuity is astronomical.
Yep.
So the fact that this is doubled on top of it, like we thought this was like, dude, this is one of the greatest feats of human engineering and stuff like that in the ancient world ever. And then to find out,
the rabbit hole kind of goes deeper, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Archaeology was like, no, hold my beer. Hold on. Give me a second. To find out that something like this could possibly exist is like, okay, listen.
That's a detriment to a lot of people's historical belief.
Yeah.
That is going to be a huge detriment to what people thought that these things were.
Well, and and
it calls into the question like, I know there's a lot of controversy with like, oh, these things are like pre-flood. Oh, these things were built a little bit earlier than we thought, later than we thought.
Yeah.
Kind of like the discovery of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. That disrupted archaeological findings because it contradicts the dates as to when humans were supposed to be working with large stone masses like this.
Interesting.
And it predated those stones predated those notions. So we were constructing with stone much, much earlier than
we previously thought. Interesting.
Yeah. So
is that part of the Graham Hancock thing?
Yeah.
Is that one of his discoveries?
It's in, you have to read a book, Fingerprints of the Gods.
Oh,
it's a really interesting find. The Göbekli Tepe. Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I've dug into this world a little bit too.
I know you're a lot more well versed, which is cool to have.
I love my ancient aliens. I love my cue the guy with the funny hair. Aliens. It's like great. So like, oh no, it would be much cooler if humans built that. But like, if aliens did it, what ducking ever?
Well, it's like
a bunch of show offs.
I think that's another subject that we could probably get into later at some point, because I feel like, I don't know, the whole concept of aliens is still like, listen, here's my little quick 30-second thing. I don't necessarily don't believe in aliens. I think there's a possibility for all of these things. The thing is like, until you show me inconsequential evidence, like beyond a shadow of a doubt, like preaching these things is gospel is still not just going to get through to me.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's the same like with believers and non-believers, or like believers and atheists. It's like there is that disconnect, and
But it's fun to get into.
it is fun to get into.
It's really fun.
It's like the possibilities are really, really cool. And it's like, you know, if it happens, what's gonna happen? What about the Christians? Oh no, bro, that's cool. There's aliens out here. There's no people out here. Whatever, we'll figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, interdimensional beings or whatever.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Cool.
So it's like, it's kind of the same with the pillars. I kind of want to see digging happening, and I want to see at least one of these things. If one of these can be proven to be true, and that what kind of looks like a coil goes all the way down to the bedrock.
Yeah.
It might be a large staircase. It might be a coil. I think personally that the pyramid's a giant generator of some kind. Now, what it was powering, that is the question.
I don't know anything about that, so I don't know.
Yeah. There's been a long time conspiracy that the pyramids are giant generators, power generators taking from the Earth's energy. But the thing is, it's like, okay, cool, they're generators. What are they powering?
Yeah.
That's the real damn question. I feel like nobody answers that. And that's like that's kind of stuff that I would want to dive into.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like the same with this oh gosh, what's this psychics working with the CIA thing? Oh, Ark of the Covenant. They found the Ark of the Covenant through psychics. Yeah, it's a CIA thing right now. I'm not going to believe it until I see it myself either. But it's just like, okay, psychic. Anybody that claims to be a psychic in my mind has, dude, it's kind of like that. All right.
It's like a snake.
I'm not gonna bash it though, but it's just like, okay.
I don't know. The skeptic in me really just wants to sit like, listen, just do the research, figure it out. You find it out. Now, as far as the CIA is concerned, I'm not going to put anything past them. If you guys want to know just how, like, I don't know, mythical the proportions of what the CIA was ever capable of doing at like both good and bad, look up Operation Northwoods.
Maybe just use these psychics that kind of go underneath the pyramids. Just tell me if that's real. How come no psychic has told me about it before, huh?
Well, yeah, and it's like, I don't know. That's, I think if
I get claims that psychics were doing this since the 60s, I'm going to start calling BS.
Yeah, because it's like,
I feel like we would have heard about it by now.
Yeah, it really is like, even though that I have that religious aspect in me, there really is the like, listen, at the end of the day, there are things that just need to be proven.
Yeah.
You know, faith is an entirely different concept, you know, even though there is a lot of nuance. As far as like real world discoveries, you have to like, I don't want theories. I don't want half-baked ideas. I want
show it solid. I want solid in stone facts.
Which brings me to the last point before we get onto the main thing is the main person that is pushing back on a lot of this. It's this one, and then I can't remember the other dude's name that I think he works in radiology, but I can't remember his name right now. I'll have to pick him up. But Dr. Zahi Hawass, if I'm pronouncing that wrong, don't kill me.
Egypt's main Egyptologist, historian, archaeologist.
Yeah, so he's already come out and said, no, this is completely, you know, verifiably false. There is not this discovery is bunk. It doesn't exist. You guys are crazy.
I just feel like he spoke too soon.
I feel like, because I did a little bit of research, you know, ChatGPT, using that shit like a calculator these days. But there's been a lot of like allegations surrounding him for the past at least decade of just kind of weird behavior, kind of a little bit like Neil deGrasse Tyson of the world, a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like very, very like peacock like
what hasn't he been caught embezzling funds and weird financial issues that he's been caught in?
Yeah,
stuff like that too.
What I got from ChatGPT, and this will just kind of round it off as like the question for next time when we ever get new evidence. So he's kind of had corruption and nepotism kind of surrounding him for a little while. And this is from ChatGPT. So critics claim Hawass gave excavation rights and special access to sites specific to individuals and institutions, favoring Western organizations he had ties with, financial misconduct allegations in 2011 during the Egyptian Revolution. He briefly stepped down after being accused of corruption related to, oddly enough, museum gift shop contracts. The charges were later dropped, but public image kind of can't go back on it. He's often dubbed like this at least the rock star of Egyptology. And he's heavily promoted just like Neil deGrasse Tyson. And it's kind of like that's kind of my thing is you get somebody that's like this big and propped up and like a movie star at this. It's like, I don't know if you can get to that level without some like shred of doubt in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, he's been notorious for dismissing, you know, active or ongoing theories, shutting down debates, ridiculing researchers, using his position to block access to dig sites. And I don't know if that's currently happening right now. I don't know if he's officially come out. I'd have to do some more research on if he's like pushed back and said, no, we're not going to give you rights to the dig site to figure it out, which, I mean, just by itself, it's a pretty like controversial decision in its own right to be like, hey, you know, like one of the untouched wonders of the world. What if we, what if we just started digging under it? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I get that.
Get it.
Sure. But maybe if you had like a certain diameter tunnel.
Yeah, but I feel like in the name of being able to understand who we are, it'd be the same thing as the Grand Canyon. It's like, well, there's a lot of wonders hidden in the Grand Canyon. Okay, well, somebody put together a team and find out. But, you know, a lot of it's blocked up because the U.S. government. But that's a whole different decision. Anyway, now move on to the next stuff because like this will be up in the air. We'll keep going whenever new stuff comes out. But anyway.
And now we get into the meat of the conversation. Passing all of our mini subjects. Let's talk about it. Snow White. Disney's new Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah. Boy. This was an interesting movie to go watch. I'll say the least. It's a very interesting movie to watch.
I was taken by surprise in a couple of areas. I will say that. Well, let's start with how the movie differs from the original. Like, what do we expect overall?
I feel like it's obviously been covered by a lot of different people so far, but it's the fundamental aspects of the movie, like the fundamental core themes being changed. It's not like it's, you know, recently new. We've known this for at least the past 2 years now of they're like, you know, we're not going to have a very, you know, original centered storyline. It's going to be very, you know, future is female type vibe. And it's like, listen, if you write a good story, you can probably get away with a lot of things if you write a good story. But unfortunately, that didn't happen here, and it fell on its face.
To me, I feel like the movie absolutely just highway robbed the original story.
Yeah.
Took all of its ethics that it was originally trying to teach and its notions.
Yeah.
And they did something else with it. It's just a Snow White skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Snow White mod, if you will. It's not accurate to the original whatsoever. It's a different message for a different time.
Well, it's like, you know, the whole thing, weird. It's made in 1937. It's archaic, annotated, weird. Okay, well, just kind of watch the original. And I'm sorry, Rachel Zegler, you're dead wrong. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The original actually, it was a much better product.
And listen,
it was a far superior product to what Disney's just put out.
And you can argue from a certain point of view that there are a lot more fundamentalist Christian aspects or Western Christendom aspects in the original movie.
Right.
So I don't necessarily view that as a bad thing from rewatching the movie because we watched the new one and then we watched the original right afterwards to keep it fresh in our mind.
Snow White was literally praying in the original movie.
That's what I was going to touch on.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I get that there's going to be a lot of people, oh no, we're way past this. This is the religious fundamentalism that, you know, has destroyed nations and continents. And it's like,
I don't know, like more than a third of the world still prays. Let's move. Like I want to move past the idea that is some sort of an archaic idea or that society has moved past that. It's actually like there's meditation, there's prayer, there's these things. And Snow White is a Western. It was a Western film.
It's a product of Western Christianity and the Western style of living, which arguably, at least from my opinion, there is no other singular religious surrounding aspect of society that has done the most to prop up society and advance it towards a higher form of living than Western Christendom. I'm sorry.
I was actually more shocked because I wasn't expecting Snow White to be a Christian product from the 1937.
It's a weird thing to throw in there, too, because it's like Walt Disney's not a saint by any stretch of the imagination, which is like,
she's praying and like, oh, there's the concept of the apple bringing her death into the world. That's the Adam and Eve story. There's her raising from the dead. I know it's probably kind of a little bit of a stretch, but it's just like some weird fundamental. Yeah, it was kind of like, okay, there are some strange fundamentals that I kind of recognize over here. I don't know if that's exactly like what they were trying to connect it toward, but that's like where my mind went. I was like, is that what I kind of think it is? I'm just gonna probably a stretch of my imagination, but
and like movies that we have before, I feel like the go-to answer for any big studio is when they're revamping something, especially Disney, because The Little Mermaid did this too, as far as exposition. Exposition seems to be like the tool that Disney falls back on every single time, no matter if it's good or bad, when they're revamping an old storyline, right? Or an established legacy storyline. With Snow White, it was very like when we start the movie, it's we don't even get any narration in the original 1937. You get like 2 pages of exposition of like maybe a paragraph's worth between them. And that's it. That's it. Now, did they as far as the base foundations of like parts of the storyline, the old one and the new one did stay pretty even in terms of like, okay, well, we can take over. It's been taken over by the evil queen, and now her parents are dead. She's treating Snow White as her maid. Snow White was about to get assassinated in the woods, and the guy backs off, and then she runs away into the woods. Exactly.
Most of that is kind of the same.
It's basically like it's a copy paste.
Yeah.
Right. Which is at least nice to have someone in some instance, because it's like, if you completely like take everything out and start, moving, it's like, all right, well, now it's not even the same movie.
No.
But
it's mostly almost.
It's got a lot of the aspects. I feel like just the new one is like our answer to try and revamp this one is more exposition.
Yep.
And I feel like it's just kind of not really needed, because they had this whole thing with like Snow White's father and his father is part of the resistance fighting against the queen. And spoilers, if you've seen the movie, good. If you haven't seen the movie, just watch it and then come back to this, or just take our word for it. It's up to you. But there's this entire like storyline throughout, like this minor plot point storyline throughout the entirety of the new movie about Snow White's father and stuff like that, and how he's integral to the part of the film. You find out that it's basically like it's a twist ending at the end, but it's like
it's a different ending altogether.
But it feels so it feels like it could have just left it out and the movie still would have been fine.
Yeah,
because like watching the original, her father's not even in it, dude.
No, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just feel like the ending of the new movie is nowhere near as good as the original. The original one felt a little bit more natural. It made more sense to me. This was trying to do an epic battle, but I'm going to talk about the climax of the movie a little bit later on because I have that as a point. Yeah. I do want to talk about the off-time pacing throughout the new film.
Yeah.
I feel like it's nowhere. I feel like the movie, in a weird sense, moves too fast in some areas and just drags in other places.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's definitely, and I think a lot of that, especially like the scenes leading up to Snow White's first encounter with the dwarves.
Yep.
It's very, very elongated. It's obviously new musical number. We're going to take our new take on Hi Ho, and we're going to do all this other stuff. And it's incredibly longer than the original, right? Incredibly longer, especially the musical number. But yeah, there's a lot of bloat that I don't think really needs to be there.
There's a lot of fat that didn't quite need to be there, like the whole beginning entrance sequence of the story. Because if you watch the original, it's like just a series of texts in a book that kind of describe to you what the situation is. We just kind of cut to Snow White doing her thing in the whatever that garden area is.
And like the outside courtyard, basically.
Yeah, and then like in the new movie, it's like we have this dragged sequence pertaining to her parents, what happened to her mother, where her father went, and her father marrying the princess, Gal Gadot. Oh, sorry, I don't even know what the witch's name is actually supposed to be.
Just the stepmother or the evil queen.
Just evil queen.
Which is like, I mean, it's very simple storytelling. It gets to the point. You're not necessarily interested on like finding out all of the aspects of like, oh, what's her name here and what's her name there and what's the reason for this and then what's the reason for that. It's like it's simplified storytelling, which is the blueprint from the 1937 one. I just feel like there's a whole bunch of things that I feel like they tried to do. Okay, if you guys know what I'm talking about, Tangled and Rapunzel. Rapunzel was the original, I believe it's German folktale. And I don't believe it was ever made into an official movie, but what happened in Tangled, still a Disney film, the exposition from the new Snow White feels very heavily inspired by that and Cinderella, oddly enough. And it feels like a little bit of a rehash that still just isn't needed.
Yep.
Right? Because it's like, if
It's
you were going to make it...
it's a rewrite for modern audiences, but like what? I'm not quite sure what modern audiences are after if that's the case. I don't understand the case that they're trying to build up here.
Yeah, I feel like it's the disconnect, because we all know that the DEI and the ESG score is coming from BlackRock and a lot of these big companies that, decide the profitability in the stock market. I feel like it's a perfect blend of just slop. You know?
And that's the main issue with the movie's pacing. It's slop. It's messy. It's all over the place. Versus the original kind of had a simple story, simple timeline. Felt like theater. Felt like I was back at that's the thing I really liked about the original Snow White. I felt like I was back at like Majestic Theater over in San Antonio, Texas, watching a show play out.
Yeah, it was very like structured, and it had this very kind of like, it's something that I wish that we could have more of at some points, is like movies that were done back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s. There's a
theater feel.
Yeah, there's a
like
very
a play. It's a play
tone of cool, calm, and collectedness of this tragic thing is happening, but there's a certain amount of composure that I think is missing from these movies. Obviously, we went through the whole, reawakening, and there's an entirely new form of acting and method acting and stuff, but it's nice it would be nice to have a little bit of that in today's movies.
And I just feel like that's going to be kind of hard to capture in a movie. I feel like it would be better in theater than it would be on a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
Because you're working with a camera and a screen. And that's ultimately the detriment. But how is it that Snow White from the original movie felt like it captures that onstage presence?
Yeah.
It captures it so well, especially when she starts interacting with the dwarves.
Yeah.
And the dance sequences and like the way that she's interacting with them, it felt like I was watching a play. Whereas the new movie felt like it was taking itself too seriously.
Yeah, and there's this huge thing, because the motivations for these characters are fundamentally different. They're like opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because like, listen, I can understand to a certain degree like the evil queen wanting to, gain control over the city and stuff like that. But it really doesn't need to be explained in the original. The motivation is, I don't like Snow White. I hate her.
Yeah,
I hate her.
I want to be the prettiest thing in the land, and if I'm not the prettiest thing, then I hate her. She has to die.
The new movie felt like it was like Snow White is an obstacle to her goal. In the original, it felt like Snow White was the goal. Like, no, I'm killing you. We can't have you here.
It's like she wanted to maintain power. It's like, okay, power over what? Like, your land is busted. It's broken. Your economy sucks. What exactly is your rule here? Well, at least I'm hot.
Well, it's like, I don't know. It feels like, especially taking an interpretation on a timeless classic, it's just, I don't know. It's just something beautiful about more simplistic storytelling and more simplistic motivations. And that's why, like, okay, listen.
And Snow White was supposed to be that, but they're trying to add all these little micro complexities everywhere, left and right.
But yeah, and it's like trying to make her out to be this leader that's out here that's trying to basically start a revolution.
Oh no, she's finding herself. She's finding herself.
Yeah, and it was really weird because, like, even listen,
gosh,
from the feministic perspective in this movie, it was clearly there. But here's what doesn't make sense to me, is because they still went with the story arc. They still went with the fact that there's Snow White and then the prince, and the prince, eventually that they're going to be attracted and drawn to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so weird because you could clearly see that it's being set up, right? It's being set up as that. It's more of an enemies to lovers arc. But then, like, 3/4 of the way to the movie, they're like, "Yeah, what?
I love you.
Wait, what? Yeah, wait, yeah, we're not doing that anymore." Because it's set up as like, oh, they're going to get together at some point, and then they just don't.
I feel like that's what the romance arc in the original to me makes more sense.
And the thing is
way more sense.
You can be pedantic and saying that, like, well, you could say, but there wasn't any clear explanation for why, the prince did this or Snow White did that. And it's like, okay, one, It's an hour and a half long animated movie. It's trying to get to the meat and potatoes of a lot of these themes. And I feel like just watching the original movie, the motivations for these characters are kind of self-explanatory. It's not supposed to be incredibly complex. It's supposed to be like, listen, the prince is attracted to the princess and he wants to, eventually, I would say, marry her, right? To be able to start a life with her.
It's a guy chasing a girl.
And you
classic style.
Well, it's like you don't have to over-explain it. Dude, I got it within the first 5 minutes of watching the original Snow White.
Was he a stalker? Like Rachel Zegler was saying that like the original prince was a stalker.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Super weird.
Watching the original movie, it's like, okay, like he gets into this courtyard of a castle and he's trying to talk to her and he's singing to her. And then she runs into a castle and she's listening to him sing out in the courtyard like Romeo and Juliet or something.
Well, the thing is,
it's like what's the, what? Where's the stalker aspect here? Like, I don't understand where, like, what? Go ahead.
What's like in it? Dude, the whole concept of the stalker thing. It's like, well, he's the stalker. He was like watching it from afar. Okay, the first scene that we get introduced to him, he's riding on a horse and he hears her singing. And then he's like, holy crap, I got to see what that is. Yeah. What's the problem? What embodies stalker energy about that? I'm sorry. Like, is this like the outgrowth of like the Instagram, like Visco girl? Like I'm in my gym phase. And when I'm recording, I can't have anybody in the frame.
It's pride. It's pride. It's like Rachel Zegler is the kind of character. I mean, like herself. She seems to have this know-it-all attitude, this snarky toward everything. Not quite the I'm better than you, but she's prideful.
I'm a narcissist.
It's like the thing is
and that's what I think turned a lot of people off.
It's especially her personality, but it's like if we're going to discuss even the aspects of like the contempt that maybe more left-leaning people have with the original movie is like, well, there's barbaric forms of men and women dynamics and it's staunchly traditional and archaic and outdated and it focuses on the fact of demeaning women. Okay, I don't know what movie you watched. I watched the original. They make fun of your toxic male archetype in the original movie, right?
Yeah, they made fun of the old geezer.
Yeah, Grumpy is the archetype of the toxic masculinity that you so embody and hate. Women. And yet, they portrayed it in the film as he is what's wrong with the connection between men and women. Yep. He is portrayed as the fuddy-duddy, the one that refuses to accept the fact that this person isn't as bad as he makes her out to be.
Yep. And then he turns around.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he actually had an arc behind it too.
Exactly. And you want to talk about like,
was there even a Grumpy arc in this new movie? No, there wasn't. I don't think Grumpy had an arc.
I don't think so. But it's like, just watching it, people talking about like, oh, well, but it's got all the tropes. So, she goes to the house and then a bunch of, men or representations of men come home and now she's cooking and cleaning. It's like, God, if you stayed at somebody's house after trying to get nearly killed and you just so happen to be good at whatever you're good at, whether it's tending the fields, cooking, basket weaving, fashioning cups, doing whatever, sewing, making I don't know, whatever you take your pick.
Girl, you're going to work. Like, girl, you're going to have to work. It's like, if that ever happened, like, dude, you're getting a job or you're going to work. Well, you're not just going to be able to sit here and watch TV. What do you want her to do?
I don't think it's even that. It's the fact that it's like you're doing a service to another for them allowing you to stay in their home. The dwarves could have kicked her out immediately. Yeah. There's enough of them. I'm pretty sure they could have pushed her out of there. But it's the fact that like in the original movie, it's a relationship of gratitude and acts of service. She is chased into the woods after nearly getting killed. They're the only people that eventually take her in and take pity on her. And therefore, her showing her a kindness and appreciation is cooking for them. And even before she gets there, she's like, this place is kind of a fucking pigsty.
Yeah, she cleans it up.
Yeah, which is like, I ain't gonna lie, from an OCD control freak perspective, I probably would have done the same thing. But it's
like, well, if I'm taking shelter here, I might as well do something and do them a favor.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's an archaic perspective to have more of a kindness and chivalrous perspective from both men and women. But I don't know, watching that movie was kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
Because it was like, it didn't feel like these motivations were secretly coded with like, oh no, I'm cleaning their house because like it's the only thing that I'm good at. It's like, what are you talking about?
No, that's not the case. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
They are trying to sell that notion off as if it's traditional woman. That's all her purpose is, and that's what the movie's trying to sell to you. I don't think that was the case. I want to say you're actually digging too deep into it.
That's what I'm saying is like in even before it's like, you know, the dynamics between them, there's parts in the original movie where you see like, oh, wait a minute, because I don't know what this speaks to, but the gradual process of her basically civilizing the dwarves.
Yes.
And bringing them into like, hey, wash your hands, be clean when you come to the table. You know, be on time, keep your space tidy.
Oh, hey, that kind of sounds like things that men need to work on. It's not like the original was just being sexist in one direction.
That's what it's like.
Pushing it. Like, no, the original movie was just pushing basic foundations as to running a household.
Well, and like basic just aspects of being a human being.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
And it's for kids. And this is for them to learn. It's like, hey, see, those dwarves are washing their hands.
Well, it's like,
I could freaking imagine my uncle just telling me that when I was 5, just like, see those guys? They're doing something you should be doing right now.
Exactly.
It's like, it's a lesson for kids.
Exactly.
It's like, okay. And then they want to sell it off like this is evil. This is like the worst thing in the world. The new movie neither respects the original source material, neither sells the new one.
No.
And it's in terms of its pacing and what they started doing with it. Let's
because this part is gonna be fun to talk about.
This part, because we're not doing a lot of movie spoilers in this review, but let's actually talk about the movie climax centered around one line from earlier in the movie.
Let's
talk about this climax.
You'll have to remind me.
Let's lead up to where the Snow White movie went. Snow White movie, for the most part, kind of copies the original. We go from girl going to the woods. She meets the dwarves take her in. Snow White didn't really do anything for them. Yeah, I'm not very sure I don't actually remember if she did anything in the household like she did in the original.
Yeah, I'd have to brush back on that because it was very,
I guess it just became a musical number and that was it. And then she helps, what's that dwarf's name? The one with the big ears.
Oh, Dopey.
Dobie?
A Dopey.
Dopey.
Like you're a dope.
Who coincidentally, by the way, looks like the Mad character mascot from Cartoon Network. I'll throw it up on the screen here. Tell me that's not Uncanny Valley.
Bro, and
that was weird.
Oh my God.
That was like the first thing that popped in my head when I first watched that film. But anyway,
oh man, the CGI was atrocious.
The evil witch, it's kind of the same story. She wants to be the hottest chick in the land. It's like the fairest of them all.
It's legitimately the same, obviously the same story copied over, but it's just, like I said, it's drug out with more exposition and then more useless added scenes.
And then this one useless added scene where it's like, she's remembering all the little dwarves' names. And she says, oh, my parents taught me it was really important to remember names. And that was it. It was like, okay, strange line. And then let's skip all the way toward the ending where we don't even get the traditional ending like the original film where the witch is pushing a boulder, trying to squish everybody, and she gets lightning struck and falls off a cliff. In the new movie, she is hiding away in her castle. The villagers are still there, and Snow White goes there with all of her new friends and the bandits, which we'll get to that one in a minute. And the dwarves, and they all encounter the queen. And the queen is about to have Snow White publicly executed.
Yeah.
And we are here at this point where Snow White just kind of does this weird off thing after being relentlessly pursued by all the same people throughout the duration of the movie.
This is my favorite scene, bro.
I threw my hat down when I saw this. I was just like, this is ridiculous.
It was so funny, man.
She looks at the guards who are about to kill her and says, with the Minecraft diamond dagger.
Yeah.
And she says, it was like, Thomas, you used to do this and that in the village and blah, blah, blah. And she starts naming the names of every guard and what they used to do.
Yeah.
And then the guards are just like suddenly turning on the queen. It's like, we serve Snow White now.
Yeah, the entire climax of this film is basically like leading a revolution. It's very, I'm sorry, it's very like, I don't want to, I'm just going to say it. People can and go after me in the comics, but it's very like Lenin-esque.
Yeah.
You know, very, very like oppressed versus oppressor, which I mean, obviously makes sense in this context.
At least I remember your name.
Well, it's, yeah, and it's like, I saw that whole scene.
No shot.
No shot. This whole thing comes up. And basically, like it's the final confrontation with the village people, Snow White, bandits, everybody else, and the queen and her guards, and they get to basically a standoff, right? And they're about to execute her, and you know the queen's giving this whole spiel while creating a diamond dagger, like out of nothing.
Minecraft. Jack Black. Where is he at?
Flint and steel. No, I'm kidding. But like she's giving this whole speech about like, you don't want a flower, you want a diamond. And I'm like,
where did this speech come from?
Like, first off, the fact that you can just create diamond daggers by yourself, I don't know. I feel like if I'm an evil dictator, basically, and my entire village comes to me and is like, we won't listen to you anymore. And I still got all my guards, bro, I'm killing everybody.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool, bro. I'll start anew. Like, I'm killing everybody.
She's pulling daggers like Thor's sister from the Marvel.
Yeah,
she's
Hela, but even
Hela. She's pulling weapons out like Hela pulls them out.
But that's the thing. It's like it makes sense for her, but it's like, dude, you're ridiculously overpowered in a Disney movie and you don't use it. Yeah. But like this final confrontation, like you said, like in the moment of truth, right when we're like, oh no, what will happen? She turns to the guards that are next to the queen and it's like so and so. I remember when you used to bake bread for the entire city. You used to get up at 6 a.m. and do it every day. Now what are you doing? So and so. I remember when you used to come down and you know everybody this whatever.
These are not like established characters, by the way. These are just random people that they just kind of threw in.
Yeah,
they were probably throughout the movie, but we never addressed who they were or their names or their faces. Really, we didn't get good shots of their faces up until the climax.
And then the last part, when all this stuff is done, and she's like, "This is nonsense. Guards, take her away." And then they all start be like, and I'm with you, and I'm with you. And all like okay, four guards turn around and are like, and I. First off, we just met you.
Yeah, and what happened to the rest of them?
One of the guards that turned was the captain of the guard. 30 minutes ago, before this was happening, he was actively hunting Snow White in the woods along with the bandits.
Leading all of them.
Tell me that in 30 seconds of being convinced by somebody that you were going to get anyway, now you're all of a sudden against it? You've been serving her for how long? What do you mean?
She was leading the guards as to trying to kill Snow White throughout the entire duration of the movie. And
they suddenly just
meoop. I was like, oh, I'm a good guy now. Look at me, guys.
Exactly.
This man, get this man back into the Nuremberg trials.
Dude, it was like
this guy's guilty.
It was like it was very like thrown together. You can obviously tell that the reshoots are there. You can obviously tell that people wanted this story to be a certain way, and it was probably too extreme. And they were like, "Now we got to taper this back," but now we got nothing. But now we got okay. Let's just throw this in there. So we get this classic mistake of just gonna throw this last bit of exposition and character development in somebody we've never met just to be able to shore up these loose ends, and it just doesn't work. It feels so inauthentic and fake. And then the last part of this movie, compared to the original, you know, when they all sort of rise up against the queen, which I don't know how that happens. There's like 200 guards in her castle. 4 of them turn. Where are the other 200 guards?
I don't know what happened to the rest of them.
Yeah.
What happened to the rest of the cast that she didn't name off?
Yeah, because I'm sorry, like 4 guards out of 200 turn against me. I can create diamond weapons from thin air. I'm killing all of you, bro.
Apparently.
Yeah, I'm killing all of you, bro. Yeah. Like, I was like, cool story. I'm killing all of you. That doesn't happen. So they basically win the day through friendship and cohesiveness and teamwork and leadership. So she runs back into the castle after being like,
the witch doesn't even put up a fight. She's like, no.
Yes.
runs back into the castle.
No, wait, like
Back to the mirror. Is like, am I still the fairest of them?
dude, that's the thing is, okay, in the original, it's so much more satisfying because, like, it literally is the phrase pride before the fall.
Yeah.
There's always the pride before the fall. It is physically represented in the interpretation in 1937 as, you know, I gave Snow White this apple. She's dead now. The queen accomplished her mission. She is dead. And then she basically, like, there is no, like, the prince comes and dispatches her. She falls under the own weight of her ambition.
Yep.
Which is like, I mean, as far as simple storytelling, it's good. It's good. It works. It's cohesive. You understand where it comes from. Same thing with the apple. And in the new one, it's basically just like a, take this apple so you can, you know, because I got news about your father and take this apple so that you can sustain yourself in the journey. Take this apple. You talking about apple?
Apple. You know how light in calories that thing is?
Dude, I'm gonna eat that thing in 10 minutes and just be like, all right, yeah, I'm still hungry.
Have you ever had a McDonald's breakfast before going on a hike? It doesn't hold you like one bit. Once you're
dude.
like a third of the way there, you're like hungry again.
Yeah, dude, you're not getting sustained off an apple.
No.
First off. So, and I feel like it's just kind of half-assed thrown in there. It's like, oh crap, we forgot about the apple. Put that in there.
Yeah. And it's completely ignored. Like that was one of the main dynamics of the original story.
Exactly. And the apple in the original is represented as the weakness and temptation for Snow White.
Yep.
That's what I love about it, is because the old woman it's the same thing. The old woman comes, oh, no, I've out of the elements,
temptation.
take me in. Yeah. And then, you know, we find out that, she's got a little, she finds out, she's got a little bit of magic going on. And, you know, she talks about her problems, and then it becomes, this is a magic apple. One bite of this, and it will fulfill any wish you desire. There's the temptation aspect. We see the flaws in Snow White of the innocence of, I want to be able to have a relationship at some point.
This is why I said it was the Eve story, because it's the take this and you will be like God. It's the same kind of temptation. Take this and you can eat this and you can get whatever you want. You can make a wish. That was the original message of the original movie. It was a lesson of temptations and don't fall for false promises. That's essentially what it was supposed to be.
That's cool.
The new movie doesn't even take that. That's like a really good lesson to have. That's like not even a political lesson. That's just basic sense. Don't fall for everything you're told.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then they just take this cool idea from the apple in the new movie, and they're just like, oh yeah, I'm just trying to trick you with this. Here you go. Sustain yourself. It's a cheap shot.
And this reminds me.
That was so disrespectful to me.
This is the fundamental aspect that I know, like, it's one and I caught it, and I was like, oh, you sneaky mother. I caught this while watching the original. What did the Book of Enchantments say in the 2025 Snow White movie?
Oh, actually, I didn't.
The curse can only be broken by true love's kiss, or at least if I'm remembering it correctly, true love's kiss. The original said true love's first kiss, which means this isn't like, oh my God, I'm madly in love with you and this is going to seal the fate. It's the start of the idea of true love. Yeah. It only has to be that. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I love you so much. I've been watching you forever. No. It's the prince is interested in pursuing this girl because she's the most beautiful girl that he's ever seen, and he wants it. You even see it in the first part of the original movie. Like, he sings in song, and it basically like, listen, I'm not trying to be great. I genuinely think you're beautiful, and I would like to get to know you. Yeah, maybe he's a little bit weird for coming up to the fountain. I don't know. Maybe that was a cultural thing back then of just like being a lot more friendly and open with people. And
dude, Tinder does not exist back in the day. You have to, imagine that. Walk up to people and say hi.
Bro, that'd be crazy. In the Snow White movie, the prince just on the phone, just being like, Snow White. Minimum wage job. Okay, takes care of her son. Yeah, got a fashion sense. Yeah, you know what I think I'm gonna do? Like
a little raggy on the dress. But I can work with it.
She's got like a shabby chic style that she's going for, and I dig it. This sounds like we could do tabs of acid, at Base Canyon, and be fine.
Which direction is it? Swipe left for interest? Swipe right?
Swipe right.
Swipe right.
But like, That's what got me. That was the one thing of like, okay, so they're trying to be underhanded. They're trying to be able to make their narrative fit for the storytelling and basically saying, no. This loose end that you guys are thinking about, no, it was always like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And you knew it.
Love's kiss versus True Love's first kiss.
kiss.
It's like, I see what you're doing there. That's kind of perverted, but continue.
Yes, it's a blatant misrepresentation to be able to bolster and simultaneously tie up your loose ends so that nobody can criticize it. So that was the big thing for me that I really saw, is that, you know, this is a simplified story of first love, or at least the first machinations of what love could be between two people.
Right.
And the entire thing, it deals with love, with relationships. It deals with jealousy and betrayal. And, you know, I didn't necessarily have any problem with the new Huntsman scene in this one. Like, I think, I can't remember whoever the actor is, but like, it's not bad. The dialogue is where it falls apart, but the emotion that's conveyed through it, at least for me, mirrors the original. I wasn't mad about that at all. I think it worked really, really good. But the other thing is like, okay, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they included it in the original movie of the heart of a pig being the substitute.
Yeah,
pretty sure they included
They actually had some pretty dark themes in the original movie too.
Yeah,
like they actually showed a dead, like Snow White was dead.
Yeah, exactly.
In a glass coffin,
which is like
crazy. Like Zegler was dead for like less than a day.
Yeah, exactly. It was basically like a passing note in the new one, but it was like the central theme of redemption in the old one, which is like, I don't know. Again, it's this whole thing of, instead of having the focus be on tradition, and you know, we probably get a lot of hate, but traditional relationship dynamics between men and women. Now it's, no, we're going to focus on a leadership aspect, and you know, she has to be able to lead her people, and it's like, I don't know. I just don't think it's that deep.
No, it's not that deep whatsoever.
I don't think it's that, because if you really wanted to touch on
it, boss, girl empowerment, like it was like the weakest form of it too. My goodness, like, oh, you remember names and then everybody's on your side and now you're friend. It's like, dude,
that's a really weird motivation. Like, at least I remember your name.
Imagine like committing 4 murders and just be like, but hey, I know the name of you. You're a good person.
You're a good person. You know why? Because I remember your name.
Snow White's no crib.
You don't get the. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How do you turn somebody in 30 seconds? That's crazy.
That was actually insane. But Snow White's not a criminal, but she's made out to be a criminal.
Yeah, kind of.
She's framed.
And it's still like, again, it's the exposition that falls back on this whole precedent of her becoming a leader, which is like, if you wanted to do it and do it right, you could have, but you didn't.
No.
And like, if you really wanted to focus on it, why are you using the exposition of her father eventually being, because I really thought her father was going to be in the storyline at some point and not be fucking singing all the time. But I really thought that he was going to be like a core tenet of like, oh, there's this, you know, distant rebel faction fighting against the queen, and her
that's what I thought it was going to be.
And then the father was like, I knew it, like at the poison apple scene of the new one, like, I knew your father very well. He's dead, and it's like, what? What
was the point of that? What's the point of the bandits?
Why are you bringing this up as a eventually like a Chekhov's gun, basically, and then not delivering on it?
I'm actually gonna skip over to this point right down here. We'll come back up. It's where's the?
We've got notes. We're cool.
Yeah,
we're cool like that.
Oh, Snow White's odd efforts to be inclusive and politically correct contradicts itself. So the bandits and the dwarfs. This is actually why I wanted to bring this up, because this is a new team in the story, the bandits. That was not in the original. Which were the original dwarves when we saw the shooting, and then Disney had the backlash of a lifetime. So let's actually, I'll take it from square one. Disney early on was casting a cast of, well, DEI actors to play the role of the dwarves. Why are we casting for DEI? And like, you know, there's not many roles that come out for
little people to be able to do this.
Yeah. And this would have been an excellent role for them. They're playing, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure if there was a line of actors trying out for the role, it's not offensive because they're trying out for it. And
dude, it's a typecast. I'm sorry if everybody is offended
not
over the
every
fact
movie
that like
has that opportunity, and Snow White would have been one of those movies that had that biggest opportunity for people
you're
like that.
objectifying and you're ableizing small people with
Duck off.
with the small little people. You are simultaneously objectifying them and ableizing them by putting them in this movie because this is inherently offensive. Like their struggles are their own. Why do we need to sensationalize it? God, bro, it's a fantasy story. It's a fantasy story.
Like, literally get over yourself.
Like, dude, calm down. Stop.
You are digging too deep, and
You
you
want to
are
accuse like right-leaning and libertarian people of being conspiracy theorists and putting the tinfoil hats on, bro. The amount of hoops you have to jump through to be able to get to that point is so stupid.
I want to bring this back to the dwarf casting and how this actually affected the story. So essentially what happened is that people online before the movies even released found out about this. People were very upset. They eventually cut that cast, or so I thought.
We all thought we thought there was like, oh wow, okay, so they're making all right. Well, we know why they're doing it, but it's like,
and then they utilized CG dwarfs, and I just thought that was such a mistake. I've heard that there were multiple retakes for this film, as well.
That makes sense,
and it totally makes sense.
Yeah,
I would say that they totally botched the opportunity for little people to play the role for the dwarves and replaced it with this uncanny valley CG dwarves, where I thought the only point where they looked good in the movie, the song.
Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho, it's off to work we go. Yeah, it's good. It's a classic song.
And the whole sequence in the mines was like probably the better looking of the dwarves. But the moment you mix them in with the live action actors, it's not like the original like Avatar with the blue people, where it kind of took your breath away with how good the CGI was with the real time actors. It looked like nowadays you can kind of see it's a little bit dated, but it held out till like what? It's 2025. That movie still looks incredible.
I was going to say, I feel like that movie still holds up. And I feel like a lot of it is because it's not necessarily the technology or the skill of the animators to a certain degree. It's how much reference you give them for a real world example of what you're trying to do. Avatar was shot with motion capture and facial motion capture. So they got every sort of indentation and every little nuance that we all do when we're talking that is not able to be done in the uncanny valley when you're just working off of a frame of reference of CGI, which also, again, the dwarves look ridiculous.
They don't look good.
they look Dopey is
the noses were too emphasized on these new dwarves.
And Dopey is like downright creepy. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like just watching them, I was like, this is kind of getting weird, bro.
Yeah, it's too uncanny valley. They should have used little people to shoot for these roles instead. And like I said, Dopey kind of looks like the Mad mascot from Cartoon Network. I'm gonna throw this on the freaking screen again. Yeah. Like, tell me that is not him.
It's such a weird, like when you pointed it out, I was like, I knew I recognized it from somewhere.
Yeah, it's like it's literally that's Dopey. There he is.
Yeah.
Did they even get permission for that? Like, I don't know the copyrights on all that.
No, I think they would still be fine. I mean, it's already original property. Dopey was around before Mad, but yeah. Yeah, and so really weird surprise twist. I would argue better twist, better kept secret than any of the things that Marvel has tried to keep a secret, bro. The
fact that the original cast were the original cast for the dwarves are still in this movie, and they play the new faction, the Bandits.
Yeah, they play the Bandits. Oddly enough, which is like, I don't know. It's definitely, you can tell that it's very like, okay, we got to shore this up, dude. We got to tie these loose ends off now. Figure it out.
I bet you that was like their DEI casting and their story, which also manipulated the story because it changes a couple of things.
Yeah.
And it's just a way to keep them in there, to keep the new actors from being angry that they're not in the movie anymore.
Well, it's like, wait a minute, because I remember Peter Dinklage talking about this too in an interview of being like, this is an archaic idea. Like, why would you include like little people in this? Okay, you take the diverse cast out, supposedly. You put the new dwarves in. They're all CGI and they look terrible. Then you create the biggest twist of the last couple of months with still including the original diverse cast and casting a little person anyway.
Yeah. What's the other thing?
Where's the thought process? What's going on?
They already had a little person playing a little person in the movie, and then they had the dwarves. It's like, hey, excuse me.
Like, where does this even come
What's that?
from,
What's
dude?
that actor's name again? What's it?
The little person that was in it,
No, the other guy,
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage.
I feel like I don't know.
Dude.
I feel like we forget that people in Hollywood are still human at the end of the day, and nobody is that in tune with everything. But I feel like no matter where his opinion comes from, it's like, what are you, dude?
I don't know if Peter Dinklage's opinion doesn't really quite matter to me in this case, but like, dude, that's a hot take, man. I would kind of probably reconsider your role here and maybe think to yourself that there are other little people that want roles in Hollywood that there's not many opportunities for. Don't close it out.
It's like you're doing this all in the name of not trying to be outwardly offensive, which I feel like it just falls flat on its face because it's like these people want to be able to act and do jobs as well. Why are you robbing them of that potential because you just don't like the sentiment around it?
So it's going to be these two, by the way. So, and that's just the other thing because it's entirely mixed up. Their casting choices were weird throughout the board. I'm going to say it. I know you probably didn't want me to say this, but like, let's think about this for a minute. In the movie, the way I'm going to put this, Snow White, in its efforts to be inclusive and diverse, contradicts itself throughout the duration of the story. You have a Hispanic lady playing the lead actress as Snow White, whatever. And then you're having her clean the castle. Which, you know where my mind went? I went to freaking, it's the cleaning lady from Family Guy.
Mr. Superman, no here.
Well, we're looking for a missing.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'll throw that screen up. I'll throw that on the screen so that like it's not me saying it.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like it goes both ways. Like, you know, they want to be able to be diverse and not offend anybody, and then they're like, okay, well, this could be construed as that. Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of a reach, but it kind of lends itself to like, okay, you're going to offend somebody no matter what.
And then they cast a Jewish actress, Gal Gadot. Pretty good actress. I wouldn't say that this is her strongest role here, but it's like, okay, we have like a Jewish actress commanding around a Hispanic actress. So like, it just doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. It's like contradicting itself. It's like you're trying to be inclusive and you're just kind of turning this into a different type of sloppy mess. That's all I'm trying to say.
I don't know. It's more of the fact for me. It's more of just like the intention behind the story and like the motivations for the characters and what message are you trying to send? What are you trying to convey to people at the end of the day?
That's true.
And like, listen, Gal Gadot, I've watched a couple of you probably. I feel like Gal Gadot is a good actor in her own right. I feel like there's different parts in different movies where it's just like it kind of falls off for me, but I think there's also kind of just that cultural disconnect. There isn't like, at least for me, it doesn't seem like she's been like around American culture a lot to be able to get like the nuances that like regardless of us like race wise we all kind of like understand. There's kind of certain disconnects, but like I'm not necessarily mad at it. I just feel like it's where it all falls apart is the writing. Again, it just all falls apart. When you get to the motivations of the characters and the pacing of the story. And like, don't get me wrong, there's some good scenes with Gal Gadot. There's some good scenes. The first scene when like, obviously the motivations are different, but the first scene when Snow White walks into the castle and is trying to talk to her stepmother about, you know, like, well, making it more fair. And it's like, regardless of any of that, the composure that Gal Gadot has and kind of like the way that she carries herself, I kind of like. I feel like it kind of mirrors the original of like this brooding, menacing under the surface, but like I don't want anybody to know like that I'm really out here hating on somebody. I'm just gonna try and keep all of that under wraps. I think she does good in that aspect. I think there's just other aspects where it falls apart here and there. But before we get on this, the last thing that I want to talk about is the ending of that movie. After like everybody the village people and the guards turn on her and stuff like that, she's like, oh, no, she literally does it, no, and then like runs back
Like a little girl, like a little girl not getting her way.
It just sounded hilarious to me. And then running back into the castle. You already know what happens in the original storyline. Pride is the ultimate downfall of the evil stepmother, and she falls to her death after trying to kill the people that are trying to arrest her again. In this one, for whatever reason, I don't know what lore is behind the magic mirror. Maybe some of you guys can tell me if this actually happened somewhere in the books. But the end of the movie, she runs back up for some reason to be like, am I still the fairest of them all? And the mirror's like, nah, dude, you're kind of B tier now. And she was like, no. And she breaks the mirror.
And then the mirror sucks her in.
The mirror becomes a fucking singularity and sucks her into the void. I didn't even know that was a thing. I thought it was just a magic mirror with a face in the middle of the mirror. Apparently, this mirror is the gateway to an entire dimension. I don't know if that's original. Somebody figure that out for me. But she breaks the mirror out of jealousy and anger, and then the mirror sucks her in because for some reason, now the mirror is like a benevolent god being like, your actions must be judged. First off, you're a fucking mirror. What? Huh?
Where did this come from?
Also, the CGI for the mirror just looked fucking weird, dude. The CGI for the mirror looked weird.
That whole portion of Aztec, and that, that's how she dies ultimately. And it didn't make any sense pertaining to, like, one, the original story, and two, like, what kind of a death was that? This was all just cowardice.
I remember being in the theater looking at you like, what is happening, bro? Bro, are we in Interstellar right now?
Yeah.
What is happening, dude?
Yeah, it felt like the Interstellar, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, somebody tell me in the comments if that's true or not, if the mirror actually does it. But bottom line, weird-ass story, weird-ass ending. The interpretation of the original is better. Whatever. Anyway.
Let's get into the production side of this movie a little bit.
I'm not as well versed as far as like the reshoots. I just know that there was a bunch of reshoots and stuff like that. But you wanted to talk about the soundtrack, which I found, like, when you told me originally, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. So my boss was the one that told me about this, because when I think musicals, I think The Greatest Showman, and I was never a musical guy up until I saw that movie. I'm like, wow. That was more than just the musical. That was presentation. That was theater. That was art as a film. And believe it or not, Ben Pasek, I think that's how you say his name. Ben Pasek wrote the musical numbers for this movie, who also wrote the music for The Greatest Showman. It's the same guy.
Ooh, yikes.
So it's like, how did you go from this awesome original music, and like the music in Snow White isn't terrible, but it's like, this is nowhere near, it doesn't present itself nowhere near where, it doesn't present itself nowhere near The Greatest Showman. Yeah. By a long shot.
Or even the original movie for that matter. Like, I feel like we were getting a musical every 2 minutes.
Yeah. And
we'd have like a little bit, and then it was like a song about this now. And I was like, I'm not going to remember all these things, man.
I felt like the whole thing was just a big music video.
Which I think, as far as like Ben Pasek goes, he's obviously talented in his own right. And I feel like, you can't put the malice and the intentions of, the writers on everybody. I feel like a lot of this was just Disney mixed with the production timeline of like, just get this done, get this done.
And a lot of pressure. Yeah. And then, so I don't think this is Mark Webb's fault either.
Yes, coincidentally, the director of this movie, ladies and gentlemen, is Mark Webb, the same dude that directed The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which, I mean, is meme-worthy in its own right. Like, there's definitely a bunch of things wrong with it. It's definitely not my favorite interpretation of Spider-Man, but it was weird seeing him as the director of this film, which makes me think, I'm just speculating, that they went through a bunch of different directors. Like, they just, like, ran through people, and they were like, you, do it. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I'm thinking.
It just felt weird because, like, I feel like Mark Webb's previous films were actually a lot stronger in terms of its story, its picture, its pacing.
Yeah, hold on, keep talking,
its structure. And then when you go into into this film, it's like all of that just kind of goes out the window. It's make a movie about Snow White. We don't care. Do it now.
Exactly. And it's like, I don't get it, because his movies, at least for me, so he did 500 Days of Summer, which is it's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good romantic drama. It touches on a lot of like serious themes and kind of like questions the viewer's mentality behind relationships, which is really good. And let's see, what else does he have? Because he had another one. I didn't never see Gifted, But we all know him from at least here. We all know him from The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. And the Amazing Spider-Man is just not, Mark Webb's interpretation is not my interpretation of Spider-Man. It's too dark. The motivations are too bleak and gray. And there's a lot of like weird things, but I think it's just,
he's not the greatest. He's by no means like one of the GOAT directors. But
well, I mean, I think he has his moments. Every director has his moments. I think he was just thrown this thing and they were like, figure it out.
That's exactly it. Yeah, you took the words right out of my head.
Yeah.
They literally just threw a movie at him. That's why I think Ben Bisek writing the musical numbers, I think he had the same thing happen, which kind of leads into the other aspect of what I believe ultimately failed this film. It all boils down to one thing, and this one thing only: Rachel Zegler's behavior off camera.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you're already taking a massive undertaking by trying to reinterpret one of the greatest original storylines of all time,
right?
And the start of a century-long legacy of movies. No matter what you think about Disney now, like all great, a lot of these giant corporate companies that everybody likes to hate on, at some point, like they were the ones that were breaking the mold. Walt Disney broke the mold by doing this.
Yep.
No matter what you think about him, separate the art from the artist. This dude was a juggernaut in terms of his ideas and his abilities to create the next generation of cinema. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest thing to
actually watching the original one this morning, I can actually see where they came out with it, where how that could be the case. To me, I have to put myself in the shoes of a person sitting in a theater in the 1930s. Nothing like Snow White had been done prior.
This
animation,
groundbreaking.
Animation was short stories, really quick succession, nothing deep or no deep messaging. This was a risk. This almost got Walt Disney's picture off the map. And this movie is what saved the company.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Walt Disney leveraged both his house mortgage and the company itself in its entirety as collateral for this movie to get going, for this to finally be finished, so that he could afford to pay everybody. So basically, if this didn't work, we wouldn't have Disney.
No,
which is like, that's an unheard of level of, at least in my mind, of dedication to be able to bring in this new.
What that movie must have felt like is like us watching Avatar back in the early 2000s. The CGI where that was groundbreaking CGI, like nothing ever looked that real. And then back in the day, 2D animation never looked that good. It never had a story like the way it is. It was a mix between excellent cartoon work, as well as excellent animation work, as well as excellent theater storytelling, music, and presentation. The thing played out like I'm sitting in a theater watching a play going on, like, again, like if I was sitting back at San Antonio in the Majestic Theater.
Yeah.
It felt exactly like that. It felt like I was watching a play and something groundbreaking for the first time in my life. It's like, wow. Could you imagine watching all the animals interacting on the screen back then? Because we take that stuff for granted now. That has never been done. That must have been overload for people back in the 30s.
Oh, dude. And the thing is like, it's just how like what we talk about when we talk about shooting on 70 millimeter, we talk about shooting on actual film.
Yep.
There is qualities and details so minute that it could never be replicated digitally on a digital camera, on a digital shutter. There's just some things that you're never going to be able to improve on. Some things are just, that is what it is. That's why Lawrence of Arabia, no matter what, if you've watched it or not, if you watch a scene from Lawrence of Arabia, some of the most beautiful set pieces ever devised in cinema. And that movie is like, what, 80 years old?
Do you know how they did Snow White back in the day, how they actually captured those frames? They had giant matte paintings as big as this wall right here and multiple pieces of glass to do multiple pans. Panning different planes for different glass, and then they're adding the characters onto like see-through masked paper or whatever it is. I don't know what they call it.
Whatever the official term is.
And then it's like small, so they kind of just track the camera, this big hunk of film camera, with the 2D drawn animation frame per frame.
Yeah.
Following like her falling off the cliff, and then she's running through the woods over here, and It's a giant matte painting.
Oh, dude, and on top of that, I can't remember what the type of animation style is called, but the reference footage that they do, because listen, the original Snow White, in my opinion, still holds up today, not just in terms of storytelling, but in terms of production. It is like, because the motions, I can't remember what specific technique they used. If you guys know in the comments, let me know, because I just find it so fascinating. They were basically doing an early form of reference footage. So they would take real people, shoot them on regular cameras, and then they would use that as the reference footage to give to the animators so that they could basically color in and basically like, here's how we want Snow White to move. So when you see her moving, the reason why it looks so fluid is because they're referencing real people footage and then drawing over that, basically, which is such a... It's so crazy how like we have all of this technology in our modern day and in our modern era, but there's just some aspects of ingenuity, even dating back then, that I believe outshine a lot of what people are doing right now. And that film only had like, I feel like that film only had like 40 animators on it.
Yeah.
I mean, like ridiculous times tables, ridiculous dedication to the craft. And on top of that, it holds up.
And that's why I think that the movie held up, was because it was made with a labor of love.
Yeah.
This movie did not have that jive. It felt like cheap animations, cheap CGI, cutting corners left and right.
Oh, all over the place.
No love for the story whatsoever. It's an effort of...
It's a non-unified vision. There is no central vision in this movie.
There's no nature to it. There's no love in it. It's a product. Ultimately, this movie's not... It's not even a movie. It doesn't deserve that title. It's a product, and it's a terrible product.
It's kind of like a marketing ploy almost, at least from my opinion. It's all over the place. All the motivations are fundamentally different. There's things that are in the story. There's Chekhov's guns that never get shot. There is unanswered storylines all over the place. There's a bunch of bloat, bunch of unneeded characters, a bunch of last-minute exposition that means absolutely nothing to the story or the central cast. It's just all over the place. And I feel like it's just a giant conglomerate of corporate idealism mixed with idealistic directors and writers that have their own intentions in the film, mixed with rush timetables, rush schedules, a completely, again, discombobulated and ununified vision on what all anybody wanted. And it's just thrown together at the end of the day because out of necessity, it's the sunk cost fallacy. We're already in this deep. Why stop now? And it just ultimately flopped. I believe I've never seen this anywhere except for like B-level horror movies that just absolutely flopped. I think currently on IMDb, that movie is sitting at a 1.5 out of 10.
So let's actually dig into that a little bit more. This is the second weekend since Snow White's opening. How much has it actually made? Its I'll look up the production value for you really quick.
Yeah, let me
edit this here later. I got my number. Did you get yours? For box office.
Looking at streaks under 10 million box office. Want to know? Okay, where is Free Fall with a 68% drop at box office? All right, straight to narrow. What about this? What is this? Hold on. Got one by Deadline, Yahoo Entertainment. Snow White at 143 million global after second frame. Working Man builds 30 million. Oh, international box. Okay. As Hollywood begins to descend upon Working Man music. Okay, that's a separate movie. Okay, hold on. Where is, looking now this weekend overseas, Snow White was the top studio movie of the session, adding 22.1 million from 51 offshore markets. That takes the running international total to 76.3 million and global to 143.1 million. Number ones were held in Australia. So it looks like, oh God, dude.
It's starting to catch up.
Oh, bro, it's bad all over the place. Let me see what the original working budget was.
The working budget reportedly costs around 269.4 million to produce. So they haven't even broken even. They haven't even broken even yet.
Oh no, dude, that is tragic.
This is supposed to be $1 billion movie. That's the caveat. If you make a $250 million film, it has to reach $1 billion.
I was gonna say, like, wow, because considering where we came from, like just the last Avatar, The Way of Water, wasn't that like a $2 billion movie?
Something like that.
Did that ever make its market share?
I don't know. I wasn't that interested in the new movie.
Yeah, that's another one that just feels like a documentary more than a movie. But yeah, dude, wow, 143 million. That is compared to what did you say, 269 or 209 million?
There was one number that said 200. Hang on. Snow White reportedly cost around 269.4 million to produce, with some sources estimating the final cost could reach to exceed 300 million.
Well, and I know that Nerdrotic has covered this before. I think Critical Drinker has covered this before too, that Disney has had a recent habit of not disclosing the entire amount of what they're spending on their movies.
Yeah, I think they don't want investors to find out.
Yeah, exactly.
How much they're losing.
And they also don't want to look like idiots, which kind of impossible now. But yeah, because I think this happened with one of the recent like plots for one of the Marvel TV shows and like one of the recent Marvel movies. I know they did it with the new Daredevil show. The new Daredevil show is like kind of a mixed bag right now, and I'm pretty sure they concealed the full budget. So I wouldn't be surprised if this movie is not 269 million and is closer to, let's say 500 million.
Yeah,
because I mean that movie just doesn't, with all the hassle and stuff like that. I have a hard time believing that 269 million was the biggest number that they could possibly come up with. You know what I'm saying?
So let's actually, and that's just the other thing, because Disney is overspending and under-delivering, and there's no real skill. And look at how many people it's taking to make these films. Do you really need over 10,000 CGI artists? I think that
especially if it's not happening.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not getting anywhere, like, in terms of real headway.
I don't even think it's a CGI. I don't even know. Like, you look at the Marvel films, it's like, I think and you remember how some earlier videos we've talked about this. Big budget movies have this issue of overstimulating the frame. Like, there's too much going on, where I think they need to dial it back a little bit. Like, Dune dialed it back.
Yeah, dude.
Dune is a minimalist frame.
Thank God for Christopher Nolan, dude. One of those few people that's
not Christopher.
Oh, that's not Christopher Nolan. What about Denis Villeneuve, who's the other director that I absolutely love. If you guys haven't seen Sicario, go watch Sicario. Thematic storytelling at its absolute finest. But same thing. It's the same mentality. Like, at least I haven't seen it with Denis Villeneuve, but his thought process, at least I would assume from watching his movies, is let's make this look as practical as possible without having to rely on CGI. Yeah. Then the areas where we absolutely can't, then use CGI, which is the same mentality that Christopher Nolan had.
But Disney is not making products of love at this point. They are just making products.
And we've talked about this a lot of how it's at the end of the day, if nobody else is keeping people in check and you're just allowing people to like run amok all over the place and take whatever company, whatever direction they want, it eventually, I mean,
it just turns into a mess.
Yeah, it becomes a mess. Everybody, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Everybody doesn't have a unified vision, and everybody wants to make money.
Yep.
But as soon as you get people in here that have the only intention of making money, everything starts falling apart. And I understand there is a risk versus reward. You don't want, as a business, you don't want to keep taking risks and then losing money. But at some point, you have to branch out and start getting creative with it again.
Yeah. And let's actually talk about ultimately why I personally think that this film failed. It's Rachel Zegler's behavior offset. I think, like, despite the leaks and despite all the reshoots, I think ultimately what did this movie in was Rachel Zegler's behavior offset during what are those places that these celebrities go to?
Yeah, like the Hollywood Walk of Fame or whatever it is, or the Hollywood press tour.
Yeah, like it's her. Sorry, hang on. I'm blanking right now. It's her appearance with the press. She's coming off as this snarky. I'll just play a couple of
Yeah, we'll play
She's
a couple
coming
of
up-
clips of what's.
We'll assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. I'm a narcissist.
Yeah, she comes off as snarky, prideful, insensitive.
Very inconsiderate of the legacy that she's about to take the mantle of.
Oh, she's even inconsiderate of her own co-stars for that matter.
Which I thought would, yeah, by the way, wait a minute. Because I don't remember what interview it was, but they were asking her about it. And you and I talked about it where she was basically like, my co-star, he's like a great guy, but, like maybe his scenes all could, I don't remember the exact quote. But she was basically like, no, whatever. I don't care. As long as it's in the movie. And it was like, whoa.
The line was, who knows? They could cut his scenes for all I know. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood, baby. Yeah, that's what we're gonna have to start saying about you, Rachel, if your movie doesn't do well.
It's Hollywood, baby. I'm sorry.
I could literally throw this back at you, girl. What are you talking about? Oh, you're going to get cut from all other Hollywood films because of the fear of your behavior off camera? Weird coincidence. Who knows? You get cut. It's Hollywood, baby.
And the thing is like, let me just state off first. Yeah. As far as Rachel Zegler goes, the only other movie that I've seen her in is the new Hunger Games movie, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I am a huge fan of the Hunger Games. I really like it. I've only read the first book, but I've seen all of the other movies. I've watched hours of YouTube content of deep dives and lore explanations, stuff like that. She is a good actor. She can embody She can embody a role. It's not as if she's just out here like she just got the job off of nothing. That the Hunger Games movie proved to me, because this was during the controversy when this movie came out. I was like, oh God, dude, we're gonna have another, girl boss brat coming in here basically trying to be like, well, I have an opinion too. And it's like, well, if your opinion's stupid, then I don't care. Yep. But she really does know how to act. She really does know how to embody characters. And like, I don't know. I love her performance in that new Hunger Games movie. I think even with all of the rush details and rushing the storyline, it's still good. And to see such a waste, a misuse of your ability and the privilege you have of being in this position is such a sad thing to see, especially when, dude, you've had one movie that did moderately well. Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes did like okay, at least from what I remember. You've had one step in your journey, and the next step you take could potentially tank your entire career from this point on. Bro, what are you doing? What are you doing?
And that's just the thing. Like, I don't want to hate on Rachel, dude, but like, you really did yourself in. I don't have to say anything about you. You did this to yourself. You crying, what was that video of her crying, like, despite her flaws, despite her things and all this other stuff?
Oh, yeah.
You need to know when you need to call yourself out. This is nobody else's fault. She also got way too political. She got against Israel, which her co-stars, and was it the director or one of the main producers that had to like fly out and reprimand her?
I don't know that part. I know that, Gal Gadot is very, as far as like the whole conflict that's been going around with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Quiet.
The thing is I can't remember when it was, but like she was showing videos of like exactly what's going on inside Gaza outside of the perspective of, whether you think it's, is Israel being an imperialistic invader or being a defender of their country. Like she's very outspoken to a certain degree about this, which is like, as far as the movie is concerned, it's just it's a little sad to see, I guess, of you kind of being inconsiderate. But this is, again, the real world. It's Hollywood, baby. You say whatever you want. You just don't get mad when you suffer the consequences. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry, no matter what you want to say, like, no matter how many times we want to talk about, morals are subjective and the idealism in terms of an original conceptual understanding of the United States is, entirely subjective and, all this stuff. It's like, no matter how much you push this dude, I'm sorry, there is a general consensus of a morally right like civilization or morally wrong civilization. People are not stupid. They understand your motivations for doing these things. You know, it's not as if people are living under a rock. People can think for themselves. And I'm sorry, you're not fooling anybody with the whole routine of doing this because, you know, we're doing this in the name of progress. If it were really in the name of progress, nobody would have a problem with it.
Yep.
But
Okay.
they do because you're not being honest enough.
No. And she had the other half of this is that she didn't even respect the source material of the movie that she was originally remaking.
Yeah.
She's just like, okay, so why are you making it? Oh, the original movie is completely outdated. Okay, then why are you doing it? You're just going to change it up? Why don't you just come up with an original idea? Girl, you cannot. Okay, I gotta stop saying that.
No, what I'm saying is,
Rachel, you can't keep doing that. You like, that's not how this works. If you want to talk like that, then you just go make your own movie. All right. This is Snow White. This is just tell this shot. They should have made this movie originally the way that it was back from the 30s. Just kind of almost recreate it from shot per shot.
or just not do it at
Or
all.
just not do it at all. Like, we don't need a live, and that's another subject we could talk about. Like, we didn't need another live action remake.
We've had the live action Lion King. We've had the Little Mermaid. Now they're coming out with Mufasa,
Oh,
which is like, oh, sorry, dude.
I'm
no,
done.
that's gotta
And then it's like, oh, it's another villain is misunderstood kind of story. I'm not doing this.
I'm sorry. Nobody. Some things are just better left alone. Nobody is playing Mufasa better than James Earl Jones.
No.
Nobody.
And he's gone.
And he's gone now.
R.I.P. James Earl Jones.
Yes, because that man is an absolute legend and deserves all of his flowers. And I'm sorry, there's just some things that you need to be able to be like, all right, you know what? Time has passed. It's time to move on.
Yep.
And I feel like, again, no matter where you line up on the political spectrum about changing, the race of certain characters or swapping out different characters for male and female, listen, here's my question, because this is what I always hear from the other side is, why are you guys so pressed about this? Why are you guys so serious about this? Why do you guys care so much? First of all, that's a fucking cop-out. You're not being honest. That's a cop-out.
Yep.
Second off, if it wasn't a big deal in the first place, then why did you change it? Where's the motivation come from? Because if we want to talk motivations, that's perfectly fine. But if the only motivation is, well, we think it's time, that's not a good enough reason. There are people that have connected. I'm sorry, change Peter Parker to a different race. I don't care what ethnic background you come from. If you're in the United States and grew up with Spider-Man, I don't care where you come from. You're having a problem with it.
Do that with Miles Morales. Watch what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Nobody's going to change it. Do that with Jon Stewart, my favorite Green Lantern. Do that with Jon Stewart. Make him white. See what happens. It doesn't work because you have fundamental attachments to these characters. These IPs have history and legacy built into them.
And like, despite the political stuff, like, Rachel, you're making a movie about Snow freaking White. This is as basic story, like, fantasy films as it's gonna get. It's like one of the first ones for Disney.
And you know what film? You know what's crazy is they've been able to do it before. You know what film did that?
What?
Maleficent.
Maleficent.
If you haven't seen it, you should see it. For those of you that know, not the second one. Second one, everything fell apart. The first Maleficent is great. It's a great original take on the villain of Sleeping Beauty. It is amazing. I love that movie. I especially love Angelina Jolie. She can embody like an evil femme fatale character.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you've done it before, Disney. You've been able to create original ideas or retell stories in a different context with the same material.
Yeah.
You've been able to do it before. This screams to me no unified vision, lazy writing, cast all over the place, characters we don't know where they're at, different motivations all over the
And I feel like I don't even need to talk much about Rachel Zegler's behavior because, like, that's been done to death all over YouTube.
It's already been, we've kicked the dead horse at this point.
I'm more upset of your behavior, especially with the level of talent and like what you said, all the opportunities you've had with all these films, and you're just throwing it away. You have no idea what you just done. And to be honest, like, maybe if I was a director, I probably wouldn't cast you myself.
Or at least, like, dude,
I would be too afraid. No, I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid of the kind of things you're going to do off camera.
you know, like go to Mali or go to the Bermuda or go to the Bahamas and like find yourself for a little bit.
Yeah.
Do an ayahuasca trip and figure that shit out. Because like the thing is she is talented.
And
She is massively talented.
This is the thing that actors need to realize, like, dude, your image is directly affecting the project you're working on. you're not, this is not just your life. This is all the people that were doing the CGI and artwork, all the sound dev people, all the people behind operating the cameras.
Yeah.
Everybody is affected by your behavior.
And it's not like,
Everyone. And you're just, this is not just your moment to shine. There's a lot of people behind the works that's going on here, and you're completely disrespecting it and treating it like that's nothing.
exactly. And it's not as if it hasn't been done before. When, like, don't get me wrong, I think Chris Evans is a phenomenal actor. Do I think he's still part of Hollywood? Of course. Do I think he's still human? Yeah. And you have your own opinions, and those opinions can be wrong, but you can have them. Nobody remembers Lightyear.
No.
Lightyear just came out like not even too long ago. Nobody remembers that movie. Why? Because
totally
they
forgot.
completely changed the central core themes of that character. And then on top of that, Chris Evans basically came out and he was like, "Oh, these are toxic fans. These people are toxic and they're transphobic because they don't like the inclusion of a or homophobic because they don't like the inclusion of a gay character." And it's like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah, that did Buzz Lightyear.
I was like,
that
bro.
did it in.
bro, listen, one thing, that's my childhood. Don't fuck with my childhood. Two, you're making a movie about a character about a toy that's based on a fictional character in a fictional universe in a fictional TV show.
It's
You
like
could have
breaking
gone,
the fourth wall of fiction.
yeah, exactly. It was like fiction. It was like fictionception. But like, I don't know. That it's the same thing. It's like, bro, you're not making it any better by coming out there and then demonizing the audience, even though you know that it's not correct. Even though, so I'm sorry, toxic fan base over Buzz Lightyear. What? Where does this even come from? Just say you made a bad movie and move on, dog. Same thing. Like, Rachel, you're a great and talented actress. I loved you in Hunger Games. You're really good. You have a lot of potential. Just figure yourself out, dude. It's not that deep.
Yeah, well, I think she's going to learn her lesson after this.
You're not starting a cultural revolution.
You're not.
If you were able to start a cultural revolution, you would have done it a long time ago. You're here because you're talented and you have a path in life that I would love to see you go down because you are massively talented. But if you're going to keep fucking it up, don't blame it on other people. Blame it on yourself. Take some responsibility.
You're not going to be able to blame the Trump supporters because you gave them the ammo. You're not going to be able to blame any of the producers. You're not going to be able to blame any of the press or the media. It's on you. You have to watch yourself. You have to look out for yourself. And that you're being placed in environments where I can see where the ego could come in a little bit. I can see where the pride could come in. Dude, just take a break and like, yeah, ayahuasca trip. No, don't do it. Don't. I'm going to advise against the ayahuasca.
Take some DMT at Burning Man or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Go
Connor.
go recenter yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the thing.
You need to kind of, you got to be a little bit more considerate. That's where I'm coming from. That's all I want. I'd rather prefer the best for her. And just, you got to be more considerate of these roles that you're embodying because, and it's not just her that's under this. It's also these other major movie stars as well.
Yeah.
Because they just can think they can go out, say whatever they want, do whatever they want. And like, yeah, okay. Like you're
As if it's not going to tank the film.
You are allowed to have an opinion, but there's a lot of people that depend on how much this movie is going to make. And you're throwing them away. In other words, imagine having your job endangered by one person.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's leading the project. Yeah.
But here's what I'll say. You can only do shock value for so long. You can only be controversial for so long. At some point, the boy who cried wolf gets eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't fix that mistake, you're going to run your company into the ground. I'm sorry. People value authenticity. They value genuine storytelling. It's something that is sorely lacking. And you, Disney, as a company, no matter how corrupt you are, have the ability to change people's hearts and minds in an instant. And you're not doing it. You have no idea the level of legacy that you are leaving on this earth, especially for parents, kids alike. I grew up on your movies. I grew up on Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that with me and my sister. We watched that, whenever it came out. What?
Rachel Zegler was in Beauty and the Beast?
No, what I'm saying is like the legacy of Disney. I grew up with your movies. I grew up with them.
Yeah.
Bro, Gaston, one of the best like original soundtrack. That and then Mulan, one of my favorite movies. Bro, let's get down to business. Bro, come on. Tell me. Nah, bro, I'm Molly rocking to that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, It's so good. There's so many fond memories. And it's like, this is what happens when you make good stories and you have a unified vision. You don't have that now. And now you're blaming it on everybody else because either you know that you fucked up and you don't want to admit it because humility is a big thing for a lot of people, or you're just all over the place and you don't even know how to admit it. So either way, it has to be figured out somehow because your legacy is going to be tanked in the toilet. It's going to be another forgotten speck in the timeline.
This is funny. USA Today, Rachel Zegler's Free Palestine post is not the reason Snow White is flopping. Knock it off. USA Today, knock it off. Yes, it is. It's not. It's more than just that one post. It's the behavior overall.
Yeah, it's like, if you want to be pedantically correct, of course it's not the only reason. It's one of them. But, like, again,
she's young too. She's 23 apparently,
which makes sense. She's in our age range of people that are, massively fueled by a lot of like the college industrial complex
and the social media.
Yeah, and it just the outward perception, because no matter what you want to say as far, the left-hand side, you guys have captured ideologically, you've captured the nation. Yeah, you guys are still running a majority of the media though.
Yep.
No matter what, if it's a majority or a minority, it's still a big central viewpoint that's held by a minority of the population that is the majority of conversation. It's still out there. So it's not the main reason. It is a reason. But the main thing is just like, don't be an idiot,
Yeah.
Like, you want to make a good movie, make a good movie. Even if you wanted to hyper-feminize it. Here's what I'll say. If you're going to hyper-feminize it, just make a good story.
Yeah.
You can fit that in. You can fit that in. The reconceptualization of Wonder Woman, especially in the early to mid 2000s, the best iteration of Wonder Woman is the Justice League cartoons, the animated series. Everybody knows that. The early ones from 2000 to 2002. It's the best interpretation of Wonder Woman ever. And originally, like, the Wonder Woman character, bro, the origins of Wonder Woman is like nasty.
Oh,
like,
is
it's
it?
creepy. The original like creator of the Wonder Woman comic was like a pervert.
Oh,
but here's what happens when you take, again, this is our example of taking something that started off as a really, really bad, creepy thing and turning it into like being one of the best written female like warrior characters out in the meta today. And I feel like you could do that in the opposite. I won't agree with it, but I will respect the storytelling if it's done right. So anyway, I'm done yapping.
So getting past rumors is a final release. So final verdict. I need to move my screen because I cannot read that from my side.
Right, hold on. Final verdict. Snow White was executed poorly, neither retaining the original message or the nature of the 1937 film. Earns its place as one of the worst films produced, surpassing Dragon Ball Z Evolution. I've said before the podcast, we need to have a watch party, either on Patreon or whatever we go to, either if we do YouTube Premium or whatever. We need to have a watch party because that movie is fucking funny to watch. That movie is hilarious to watch.
It's like The Room.
Yes.
It's like The Room. It's like watching The Room. I was like, I just want to watch this just to see how stupid it is.
I feel like that should be something that we should also tackle too. Like, as far as paid content, like start off like, maybe doing like little snippets here and there for like, rewatching B-list slot movies, but then having like the original, like the entire watch party on maybe like Patreon or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
as far as the final verdict for Snow White, I hate to be super critical, but yeah, it's like a 1.5, maybe. I'm going to go with IMDb score. I think it speaks perfectly. It's just like, I'm sorry. We know that it's not like, at least I know that it's not just the writers that are out here that are trying to push a certain message, and the lead actress just so happens to be in complete ideological agreement with it. I think it's just a combination of everything, man. And especially with a company as big as Disney, with a bottomless money pit as Disney, even if they're not doing super well in the moment, you have the ability to make a good movie. You have the ability to do this. And no matter, you can say, oh, well, we were disorganized. We didn't do that.
I think the lack of wanting to take risks is actually probably one of your riskiest moves right now. You need to actually start being willing to take risks at this point, Disney. You can't keep keep playing repeat at this point. People are done. We want original content. We want to step away from like these odd revamps that have like major controversy, changed major dynamics of like original classic films. Like, dude, who cares? Come up with something new.
Yeah, that's like,
I'm like one of those guys that keeps preaching is like, we need new. I just want.
Yeah, I feel like it's the
you're-
gimmick type thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's live action now. It's like, okay, but the better one, the original one is better anyway. So why would I care?
You think I'm gonna like freaking How to Train Your Dragon live action? I already.
That's something we can talk about in the next podcast because I am so. But I'm sorry, that legitimately feels like a 1-to-1 scale reshot of every.
Actually, I was in a Discord call with. It's a guy that works over in the Shrapnel studio as one of the main coders. And no, I don't know anything about Shrapnel, so get off my back on that. But like, he used to work in what's it called?
DreamWorks?
No, VFX studio warehouses.
Okay.
And we were going through the trailers shot per shot. We were noticing discrepancies left and right. Like the mountain sizes are not, and like all the backdrops are not scaled correctly.
Oh.
The pixels never actually hit true black in the shadows.
Oh, interesting.
So it's,
I thought we got rid of that in like the late 2010s.
yeah, like we have OLED screens and whatnot, but like they never hit true black. There's a little bit of a fade to the entire image for the backdrops. And then there's discoloration as well. So it's like, we're like going over the 3D models for the dragons and we're noticing it's like, is Toothless just like maybe a little bit more of a higher res model with like a more realistic photoreal textures on it? Like we're digging into this thing. We're next week. That'll be next week.
Well, the thing is I love How to Train Your Dragon. And I'll end it with this. This seems like you copied and pasted things. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that if there's an undiscovered storyline, right? And you shore up all of like the little minuscule ends that take too much time, but we already have it. It's not even, it's barely like 15, it's 15 years old. Yeah. Dude, everybody remembers that movie. They just got done making like the last one. There's like 4 of them bitches. What are you talking about? We need what?
We don't need it.
Again,
We didn't
original
need it,
storytelling is king over everything else. If you can do it and do it right and you can execute it really, really well, you're always going to bring people in, especially if you make a story that is long-lasting, impactful, experimental, not afraid to get dark or happy or sad or in between in some places. If you can do that, you can have and ensure in a legacy. But if you're not going to do that,
Final verdict for Snow White.
no, I'm kidding. I'd just say I go with IMDb. It's 1.5 out of 10. Like, I'm sorry to all the animators out there that were probably overworked. I'm sorry to all the, the different casts that was probably out there, getting overworked and
not
stuff
their
like
fault.
that. It's not your
their
fault. It's just, we got people at the top that just don't have a unified vision for anything these days and are more concerned about either making money, staying culturally relevant in the wrong cultural sphere, or a mix of the mix of the two.
Yeah, and like working in a VFX warehouse is like borderline abuse toward VFX artists right now.
We should throw that in the next podcast too.
That's like a whole controversy. There's like talks of wanting to unionize and blah blah blah. Like VFX warehouses, like some Hollywood studios take pride off of bankrupting some VFX warehouses.
What?
Yeah, this is a thing.
What you're being happy about creating a hostile takeover for the one style of company that's going to give you what you want?
I think like one director, I'll find this quote later, but like one director was quoted saying like, if I didn't bankrupt at least one VFX warehouse, I didn't do my job. Tell me that's not predatory.
Oh, I am so happy that we are finally getting into the age where things are available to us tool-wise and as far as like technology-wise, that we were able to take this. This is the big point too. After is like the rating for Snow White, right? 1.5. What are you?
Man, I wish I had snuck a whiskey flask into the theater. I wanted to get slammed halfway through it.
You were not on our phones like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on right now.
I watched a couple walk out.
That was funny.
And then they
also
got
got
lost walking out.
Anyway,
That was
if you guys ever end up watching it, sorry, we're just riffing on it and stuff. But
like I would say it's 1.5. It's just about the same. It's not good. I'm not going to give it a 2. I don't want to give it any mercy here. Well, I don't want to say it like that, but I'm not happy. I feel like my time is being disrespected. And that's ultimate, because here's the way I feel about movies, right? You got me to pay like $15 for a ticket, $40 for food to sit my happy ass down into a room for 2 freaking hours to watch your film. This should be a little bit of a work of art here. I don't like it and I work for my money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I how many hours do I have to work to go see a movie? Like 4? As just a common minimum wage maker or something? Like, dude. Or let's take that into account. I have to work 4 hours of my day to watch your 2-hour garbage that disrespects me, my opinions, and then on top of that, you did a piss poor job of making your story. That's why I do not like this movie. It's one of those I'm disrespecting your time films. I don't care about you. I don't care about your time. That's what this movie communicated to me. I feel disrespected.
I can see that.
Yeah, it's like, imagine all like a bunch of minimum wage workers. Like, dude, they're already charging $70 on freaking games and $80 and $100 on these special editions. And then movies are just getting more and more expensive at price. Like, no wonder everybody's streaming and the movie theaters are dying. I wish there were movies worth spending on to go to the theater.
Yeah, that'd be a nice change of pace at least at some point, which is like, don't get me wrong. It was nice going out to the theater again. I can't remember.
1.5 makes sense to me.
Yeah,
it makes sense to me.
I can't remember the last time that I went out to a theater. So it's like, going to theater is cool, but it's just like, man, dude, I don't know. It's just like you said. I mean, like there's a chance to give a little bit of mercy, but it's also like, no, dude, because you guys actively demonized one half of your audience and then laughed about it. And now you're trying to backtrack by saying, oh, well, it was the fans' fault. No, it's nobody's fault except for yours.
America, just cut you off. It's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. But yeah, like
better.
That's my final verdict of the movie. Like 1.5, maybe a 2, because of all the effort that the people behind the cameras and all the VFX guys put into it. Nothing that the story or the writing team, what was it? Producers, story, garbage, everything else this is not a movie. This is it's not even a VFX showcase.
Yeah, there's like shining moments here and there of like, ooh, I like the way that you do thematic setting here. Oh, I like the way that you do, the villain's composure in this sense. So I like the way that, Snow White has like this aspect of still like the like Girl Scout aspect of like, I am not here to like, have a vendetta. I am here to make the world a better place. Like there's aspects of that peppered in here and there, but it's not enough for me to go like even to get to a 5. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just letting these people pass for making movies, dude. That's like, it's like when I went to college and they were passing people that should not be passing. And it's just like, yeah, okay, dude. This is the kind of results we're going to get in society. We're probably going to see more of this before it stops.
Yeah, I feel like it's a mix of like an ideological swing mixed with participation trophy culture. It's like, oh, we can't let these people fail. It's like, how hard their childhood was, and it's like, I'm not gonna lie. If you blame like a car wreck, like if my kid's going home from school and you like blame a car wreck because the person that was driving, didn't know how to drive and ran it off into a ravine, and your excuse is, well, he had a rough childhood, he had a really hard time, he didn't have the opportunities you did growing up. I don't give a fuck. Personal responsibility is a thing. I'm sorry. Like at the end of the day, your circumstances are your circumstances. Can we have a discussion about them? Yes. In the moment, does it count to be competent and to understand your job? Infinitely more so. So I would say this is a 1.5 for me. Sounds like you're the same. Yet again, another thing to just throw on the pile of the failed ambitions and ideas of a company that has already clearly lost its way. I hope that it comes back. I think the sentiment around it is, like I feel like people on the left feel like people on the right or libertarian leaning, and they're like, oh, they just want to tear these institutions down. No, dude, this is what I grew up on. I just want to see you do something good.
And ultimately, that's what we should be wishing for people. I don't want to watch people fail.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
But I also don't want it injected in the other half. Like we talked about the last one, like with Daily Wire, like, dude, just make a good movie. I don't need your political undertones. If you're going to do politics, do it right in the sense of the story.
We were kind of criticizing the right last time, and we're criticizing the left heavily right now.
Exactly. Like both sides have this problem of it's like two.
I'm right. I just shut up.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, I believe in my firm opinion at the end of the day, in this reality, there is a definite right and a definite wrong. There are things that are constant and things that are inconstant. But to say that one side is solely responsible for it is disingenuous.
I would say if you're a Hollywood star at the moment, stop trying to be politically motivated. Start trying to be classy. Just try to respect everybody's opinion and time.
Exactly.
You know, like, stop playing these games, dude. Like, nobody cares. Nobody needs to get involved. It's your opinion, yes, and I respect your opinion, but don't use your platform to blow it out of proportion.
Yeah, and especially, like, at least if you're going to do it, put some balls on. You know what I'm saying? Like, if your movie flops, and if that's the ideology behind it, and you stand by that ideology, don't blame the fans. So, like, well, you know, this is the movie that I wanted to make.
You can't cry about it. There's no, like,
this is the movie that you wanted to make. Now stand on it.
Yep. Oh, you lost money? Okay. I thought that was the goal here.
I thought.
What else did you expect?
I thought you were willing to take that risk. I don't know. Anyway, what do I know? I'm a simple common folk. All I do is, you know, talk bullshit on the internet and then, you know, hear other people's opinions and then go from there. But anyway, I feel like we've beat this horse into the ground and then into the inner layer of the earth at this point. So I don't know. That's all I got to say. I feel like, you know, again, I have hope for different movies down the line. I have hope for, you know, the current culture of swinging back to a sense of normality. But I think there's just some kids just got to put their hands on the hot stove after their mom tells them not to. Some people just got to do that to figure out just how harsh the world really can be and where your guidelines really are. So I don't know. Snow White, 1.5 out of 10. Original, still really cool. Disney kind of shitting on all your legacy. I mean, you know, it's up to you if you want to keep it up. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that is continuing to watch this. We have a lot of plans that we want to do eventually, because I think the one question that we're going to probably get asked is like, well, you have all these fucking opinions on it. Why don't you do it? Exactly. We definitely do want to do it. We may not do, you know, all of the IPs that are out there in the meta. I think definitely I would love to do Star Wars stuff at some point, but good Lord, would that be a struggle to get things done?
Oh my God. Do you know how long it
other
took,
sense?
Do you know how long it took me to make that sci-fi hallway?
Exactly.
I'll just play the footage here. Do you know how long that took me?
Which is why, like, eventually, like, getting people employed in a certain degree after we're creating a steady revenue. Like, I would love to do that. And so, to your point, yes, we do talk about it because eventually we want to do that. That is one of our dreams. Gaming, entertainment. That's what we want to do. So at some point, do expect that to happen because we're going to be doing it. And we love this stuff. Like, I don't know. It's a big passion. And so, you know, being in this current space, it just kind of sucks when you see, you know, especially such an original storyline as Snow White, such a groundbreaking part of media to just kind of be thrown by the wayside because, you know, we have preconceived notions about, oh, well, this seems like this and this seems like that. Okay, dude, whatever, dude. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I think that pretty much wraps everything up.
I would say so. Thank you guys for joining us on today's podcast. Leave a like and subscribe down below. And please comment. I love actually reading your guys' comments.
Yes, please yap your head off. We love the engagement and stuff like that. We love hearing from you guys. Again,
I will read your book down below.
If you guys have any recommendations as far as podcast guests that you would love to see on here discussing stuff with the rest of us, I know we're going to be doing that on our own accord, but if you have any ideas, leave it in the comments section. You know, like and subscribe, do the whole shebang, the whole bit, and we're going to see you on the next episode next week. It's good to be back, baby.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace out.